prime form, 21 matches unbeaten in all competitions. They've won their last 10 matches in the Premier League. But if there is ever a time to play them in this form, this has to be it, doesn't it, in between the Real Madrid matches?
Yeah, that'll be in the thoughts of the Everton players' minds, that hopefully for their circumstances that Manchester City are concentrating on that Real Madrid game. They just take their eye off the ball at a crucial moment, because Everton certainly need this victory, and that has to be the game plan, to get about this Manchester City team, make them run, make them jump, make them tackle, and really take the victory out of Everton's hands.
Everton just 1 point above the relegation zone. The little boys and girls are trotting off the pitch. The modern version of the toffee girl with her brown wicker basket just makes her way off. And Everton's team, Jordan Pickford, the captain, Patterson, Mina, Tarkowski and Holgate, who's in for the injured Nikolenko, Garner and Gay, with Doucouré centrally, Iwobi and McNeil wide, and Calvert-Lewin through the middle, who had a very good day at Brighton in the 5-1 win. And Manchester City, stronger than I thought they might be. Ederson in goal, Walker, Akanji, Diaz and Laporte, Rodri, Mahrez, Alvarez, Gundogan and Foden, and then Erling Haaland up front, of course, the 51 goal man. I couldn't help wonder if Erling Haaland caught a glimpse of the Dixie Dean statue on the corner outside Goodison Park on the way in. Haaland in this great goal-scoring season. Dixie Dean, who produced the greatest goal-scoring season back in the 20s with his 63 goals. There goes the whistle. Anthony Taylor blowing it. Everton against Manchester City on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, and Manchester City getting the match underway and playing the ball all the way back to goalkeeper Ederson. And in the first half, Manchester City playing from right to left towards the Gladys Street end, the two-tiered Gladys Street end, with rows and rows of faces hoping that their team, Everton, are able to get something today against the champions and Premier League leaders. Crucial for Manchester City as well, of course, who are just 1 point ahead of Arsenal at the top of the table, and we have commentary on their match later. But City playing it into the Everton box, and it's cleared away by Garner near the penalty spot, and then Iwobi sends it forward for the run of Doucouré, but that will be dealt with by Mahrez, who's able to pass it back to goalkeeper Ederson, who takes it down, controls it. Calvert-Lewin got as close as he could, but Ederson, such a confident touch, right side of the 6-yard box, took it on his left foot and then hit a curling pass out to Laporte. And Manchester City towards the halfway line. So 4 changes Pep Guardiola made from the Bernabeu on Wednesday night. So De Bruyne, Grealish, Bernardo Silva and Stones are the 4 who've dropped out, but they're all there on the substitute bench. Ball played forward for Manchester City, and it's put out of play by McNeil for a throw into Manchester City. He just got a stoppage because Yerry Mina and Erling Haaland have been involved in something, Leon.
Yeah, they're just holding each other's shirts, grasping each other. I think we'll see that all afternoon long. It's the way Yerry Mina likes to play, and Erling Haaland certainly doesn't ever shy away from those kind of physical challenges. So I don't think it'll be the last time we're talking about those two players.
No, and taking a leaf out of the Antonio Rudiger book that we've been talking about since Wednesday night. I thought it was very interesting, the Real Madrid team last night. So Manchester City have made 4 changes. Carlo Ancelotti last night, they beat Getafe 1-0. He made 8 changes. Rudiger was an unused substitute. Big clue there. Benzema and Rodrigo were given the night off. So they were able to rest. But Pep Guardiola today clearly feeling that with Everton, this win behind them, had to name this team. Ball over the top for Haaland, but it bounces through to Pickford, who safely got it on the edge of the 6-yard box. So Everton 0, Manchester City 0. Leon Osman.
I don't think there's any surprise really with how these two teams are approaching this game. Manchester City dominating possession, Everton dropping away when they don't have the ball. I think it was interesting though that Manchester City kicked off, passed it all the way to Ederson, the goalkeeper, and I don't think one Everton player stepped over the halfway line. They just stayed in position, stayed deep in their own half, waited until Manchester City got possession. The moment Ederson gets it, everybody just drops away. Quite often, Everton's best way of attacking the game is getting in people's faces, pressing really high, trying to win the ball back. Not against this Manchester City team.
Well drilled. Everton in the blue shirts, white shorts, white socks with the blue tops. Well drilled. They've had all week to prepare for this. since the match on Monday, whereas of course Manchester City have been to Madrid and back. Here's Mahrez, plays it back into his own half, and then Diaz across to Laporte on the left-hand side. Laporte's ball, that's got too much on it, and that runs through to Pickford, harmless, and Everton will happily accept that. Sean Dyche, white-shirted, down on the edge of the technical area, just a few yards away from Pep Guardiola. He might as well have his sleeves rolled up as the ball is sent forward from Pickford. Bounces off the shins of Calvert-Lewin, back to Doucouré. Now the ball through to Calvert-Lewin, but overhit by Doucouré and through to Ederson to pick up.
It was unfortunate for Everton. That's the difference between a Doucouré style player playing in that number 10 position and a cultured player like a Gundogan or a Phil Foden, who I'm looking at down below me. Doucouré's brilliant at joining the striker, getting beyond the ball, and those lovely, intricate, delicate passes aren't necessarily his strength. Opportunity that for Everton, something out of nothing, but opportunity gone.
4 minutes played, 0-0. And what's interesting here is, with John Stones on the bench, it's actually Akanji who is stepping forward into midfield alongside Rodri. I mean, he's back at left back at the moment, but that's another. As the ball's played back, Haaland could be in there. Pickford took a touch near the edge of the area, and actually Tarkowski did very well there. He sniffed the danger, Tarkowski. He knew the pass from the far side was short, the back pass, and he just eased into Haaland, which meant that Pickford was able to clear. Here come Everton down the left-hand side, cross from Holgate, hits the defender, Walker, from McNeil, hits Walker, bounces behind. Might have been a handball, but is actually given as or has it been given as a free kick?
I think it's been given as a corner. And Everton won't really mind. I think Everton will feel they're quite strong at set pieces, at corner kicks, especially when the centre halves of Yerry Mina and Tarkowski are attacking teams that are playing in a zonal way. You get the likes of Gundogan and Foden marking them, and then they attack over the shoulder of your Diaz's and your Laportes, and Everton don't mind that.
So Garner to take this, the former Manchester United youngster, into the near post, but Diaz is up to head it away. Back to Garner, who allows it to bounce in front of him. He's had injury problems this season, his first season at Everton. Here's McNeil, the top scorer for Everton this season, up to the edge of the area, but was crowded out by those yellowy shirts. Oh, poor clearance from Ederson, but Walker was alive to it, and then it bounces off to Doucouré, back to Ederson, who's able to go down, drop onto his side and gather the ball.
Yeah, be pleased to get away with that one there, Manchester City. Just a sloppy passing. You see how encouraged this Everton crowd are by the team pressing on the edge of the opposition's penalty area. That's why it's so often you see Everton getting success, pressing high up. When they do that, the crowd will really enjoy it. But again, now that that's over, they drop right back into their own half and towards their own penalty area.
Anyone listening to the commentary there might have thought that the crowd noise, did they nearly score? But they didn't really, but it was a sniff of a chance. It came to nothing, and now Mahrez down the right-hand side wins a free kick in the Everton left-back area. And this is one of the contests today. Mahrez against Holgate, who's come in at left-back. It's the first time he's played Holgate since he was sent off in the match at Crystal Palace last month, and he's fouled Mahrez. Only a free kick.
And that was one of his few starts this season, and sent off for 2 yellow cards, 2 tackles where the fullback or the winger skipped by him. And on the opposite side of the pitch, playing at left back today, up against an informed Mahrez. That is a duel that I expect Mahrez to win more often than not. Easily got past Holgate there, and Holgate's done well not to pick up a yellow card.
He has. That's a warning sign though for Everton. Free kick, as I say, in the left back position. Here it is, drilled in by Mahrez. Took a deflection at the near post, which ballooned it away over into the opposite side. Calvert-Lewin with a touch that bounced out of play for a throw-in to Akanji for Manchester City. It's behind the famous pillar that holds up the roof. So Leon very helpfully pointed, because you could see round it, to
I think it was the
Calvert-Lewin.
fact Dominic was rubbing his head, gave it away more than anything.
Here's Laporte as Manchester City go back to the centre circle. Kyle Walker back into Diaz again. Laporte now finds the pass to Foden on the left-hand side. Foden clips it across. It's headed away from near the penalty spot. Calvert-Lewin then jumps for it. Middle of the half, Calvert-Lewin gets it down. Here's Iwobi now. receiving it from Calvert-Lewin. Iwobi's pass forward to Doucouré, but Walker came across. Excellent defending. Kyle Walker, still Doucouré was at him. The ball bounced away from him towards the dead ball line. Walker slid after it and just kept it from going for a corner. It's a throw into Everton.
Yeah, good from Everton. Dominic Calvert-Lewin doing what Everton have missed all season long, protecting the ball, holding it up, bringing Iwobi into the game. And Iwobi timed his pass to the run from Doucouré, which is becoming such a big factor in this Everton attack, brilliantly. And I think the fact it was Kyle Walker that was chasing him down was the only reason that Doucouré didn't manage to get an opportunity on goal there. Good counter-attack from Everton, but equally good defending by Kyle Walker.
Well, Doucouré got the early goal, didn't he, in the first minute, the very early goal against Brighton on Monday, and he's got 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 7 appearances. And in this match already, he's broken forward the number 16 for Everton whenever he's had the opportunity. But it is still 0-0. Everton 0, Manchester City 0. And also underway, Brentford against West Ham. That is still 0-0. The other 2 o'clock kickoff. Arsenal-Brighton commentary to come from 4:30. And they'll be underway before too long at Wembley in the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester United. That match you can hear in full on Sports Extra. In fact, the build-up will be on air before too much very longer. I'll let you know. Here's Walker. I must say, Leon, I think Kyle Walker's been excellent since Pep Guardiola kind of suggested that he might not be able to play in this new system. I think Kyle Walker's really stepped up.
Again, you talk about man management. We're talking about how Sean Dyche is handling things, Pep Guardiola. Some players respond to criticism, some players respond to an arm round, some players respond to being told they can't do something. Well, you're right, Kyle Walker stepped his game up brilliantly since being told he couldn't do something.
Curling ball in towards the edge of the box. Mino is there for Everton. Comes out to Laporte. Bouncing ball up to his chest, but he brings it down, gets it back from Akanji, who is in that midfield role right now. Akanji just outside the penalty area. So he's played central defence, he's played right back, he's played left back. Now he's playing in midfield. What a good signing he's been, Akanji, for not ridiculous money by modern standards. Here's Laporte. Laporte, middle of the half, to Foden on the left-hand side. Foden, Iwobi comes in, though, shoulder to shoulder, forces Foden to turn away to the left-hand side, then Gundogan, Laporte to the edge of the area. Akanji couldn't get past Patterson on the edge of the box. And now Everton are able to take it away with Garner up towards Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin gets a touch. Diaz goes with him. Calvert-Lewin still in possession. A left-footed ball. There are blue shirts pouring forward. Doucouré takes it down, gives it back to McNeil, and then square towards the edge of the penalty area where it does break down on the edge of the box with Gay, and Manchester City are able to get it away. Still 0-0 here at Goodison Park. And what about the early stages in the Brentford-West Ham match with you, Jonathan O'Brien?
Hi, John. Yes, it's still 0-0 here. We've played for 12.5 minutes. The first big chance has fallen to Brentford, though. Damsgaard beat Fabianski. to Teixeira's cross. His header, though, just wide. In the sunshine, it's Brentford 0, West Ham 0.
Overcast here on Merseyside, but mild. And if you haven't heard, it finished Coventry 0, Middlesbrough 0 in the early kick-off in the Championship playoff semi-finals. So we're not really a great deal closer, Leon, to knowing who'll be playing in that final. Coventry, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Luton, all very tight.
You're right. I think both teams that have got the home leg second, Luton and Middlesbrough, will fancy the chances. But, as I say, Sunderland coming from behind, getting themselves in a good position. Coventry won't be overawed about having to go to Middlesbrough to get into the playoff final. So, definitely all to play for.
Here, Everton 0, Manchester City 0, with Everton in possession. And the ball played up towards Calvert-Lewin, who turns away from Rodri. And Calvert-Lewin tried to slip it through to McNeil, but Mahrez was back with a covering touch there that bounced the ball back to Ederson in the penalty area.
Yeah, good recovery, and it shows that Everton have started to show a threat here. The fact Mahrez is coming back from that outside right position to try and stop an Everton counter-attack. Dominic Calvert-Lewin in particular started this game really well. Really good with his first touch and his hold-up play, bringing those Everton runners into the game.
It's Leon Osman, former Everton and England midfielder, with us here in the main stand, peering down on Foden in possession, who's playing it back to Akanji, who has dropped back into the left back position, but now brings it over the halfway line with his right foot across the surface of the Goodison Park pitch. Finds Foden back centrally to Rodri. Square from Rodri to Walker. Walker now down to the right hand side to Mahrez. McNeil is back there, but he plays it through now into the penalty area for Alvarez, who looks to pull it back, but it was blocked. The cut back, and Everton break with it on the left hand side. Doucouré is challenged by Mahrez, so he has to go back to the edge of his penalty area. The ball's played centrally to Iwobi. Everton have got to be careful here, but Ghana is careful and just taps it back to Holgate, who returns it to goalkeeper Pickford, who clears out of play into the front row of the Bullens Road stand.
Yeah, better from Manchester City. That typical run we've seen from inside behind a fullback nearly got them an opportunity, but Everton then getting the ball. Once that initial counter-attack doesn't work, Manchester City get back. Quite unsure with how to move the ball there. Mason Holgate in particular.
Foden this time down the left-hand side takes on Patterson. Patterson did well, the Scotsman, put in the challenge, and it's behind them. It's the first corner of the match to Manchester City from the left-hand side. So Patterson continuing. Of course, Seamus Coleman out for the rest of the season, Leon.
Yeah, he's had to be patient to get his opportunity to play for Sean Dyche Patterson, but he's done okay so far. And again, we've talked about the battle of fullback versus Mahrez on the other side of the pitch. That battle, Foden v Patterson, should be a good one.
Yeah, Patterson, this is just his second start since January. Corner to Manchester City. Gundogan to Alvarez, curls it in, but onto the head of Calvert-Lewin, who unchallenged was able to hop into the air and head it. Tried to nod it out for a throw. It bounced out next to the corner flag. And I think City are suggesting that there's somebody down on the far side of the penalty area.
Yerry Mina.
Mina and now Laporte has reacted there. I don't know whether you saw that because the screen's kind of tucked away here, Leon, but Laporte, Mina was behind Laporte. He was obviously jostling him, and Laporte has turned and seemed to push out a hand and certainly struck Mina, who then went down. So this is very interesting.
Well, I told you that we wouldn't be the last time we were going to talk about Yerry Mina with regards to confrontations.
Did you see it?
I did. I think
he hit him on the wrist.
Yeah, I think Yerry Mina's got hold of him. I think he's just tried to knock his hand away. He's done it with a lot of force.
Yeah, he's sort of, as
he's pushed.
Now getting a clear view on it.
It's gone through Mina's hand and it's hit him in the midriff and on the thigh as well.
And Laporte turned around and sort of hit him on his wrist, on his left wrist. And Mina went down. I'm not sure it merited going down like that, getting almost a slap on the wrist. But VAR have had a look at that, and there was a decision to make there.
Yeah. I think there was obviously a decision to make when there's a coming together and a player goes down. But I think they made the right decision. I would have been very frustrated had a player been sent off for something as petty as that.
But he did react, Laporte, and there could have been action taken against him there. It was out for a throw then after the Calvert-Lewin header, and players back underway. Everton 0, Manchester City 0. Foden with it on the left-hand side, and Patterson forces him infield, and so Laporte goes round the outside, left-footed cross from him, curling to the back post. McNeil got his head to it. Mahrez now goes round McNeil, lovely play, left-footed cross to the back post. Laporte nods it back across, it's headed forward by Akanji, inside the 6-yard box, scrambled away by Ghana for Everton, out for a throw.
Oh, it's brilliant from Mahrez on the far side of the pitch. The touch around McNeil just sucked him right in, looked like he was slowing down, flicked it around him. Unfortunately, he just put a bit too much on his cross towards the back post. Laporte, all he could do was help it back in. Same with Akanji. For some reason, Garner for Everton just ducked out the way as if he got a call, and it nearly allowed Gundogan to get an opportunity at goal.
I think a free kick must have been given in the middle of that, because Pickford's taking the kick from the middle of the penalty area, so referee Anthony Taylor must have spotted something there. However, Everton were able to clear, and we've had 17 minutes, Leon. Still Everton 0, Manchester City 0. City with the majority of the possession, as you would expect, but Everton so far so good. As the ball's played over the top down the right hand side, this is for Walker to chase on the sprint, couldn't keep it in before he turned it across. Goal kick, Everton.
Well, I think nearly 20 minutes into the game, I think both managers will be pleased enough with the start the teams have done. Manchester City having the majority of possession inside the Everton half, and they know as a team, and Pep knows, that they just need to keep their patience in their play and keep moving it quickly, keep stretching the opposition, because such quality players, an opportunity or two will present themselves. Everton will be pleased because that opportunity hasn't looked like happening as yet, really. Not a clear-cut opportunity, and they have been a threat on the counter-attack at the other end, so pleasing 20 minutes in for both.
Everton 0, Manchester City 0 in this 2 o'clock kickoff. Still Brentford 0, West Ham 0 in West London. And here, north of the city centre, where it was all happening over the course of the last week, it's a vibrant atmosphere. Manchester City fans, you can hear them at the moment with their eyes on the treble. But this, a very, very important match. Manchester City with one match in hand on Arsenal at the moment and 1 point ahead. Ball played forward towards the edge of the box. McNeil is there for Everton, and then Holgate just passes it away to the halfway line. But Calvert-Lewin hairs after that, but it is slid out of play by Diaz for a throw-in on the halfway line. And there is news from Brentford. Jonathan Overend.
Brentford take the lead against West Ham 1-0. Brian Mbeumo has scored it. It's his 7th league goal of the season, and it was simple, really. A counter-attack was started down the left, but they had an overload on the right, and when it found its way to Mbeumo, he was unmarked and had the simplest job of slotting it past Fabianski. Brentford 1, West Ham 0.
David Moyes, I'm sure, would love to have a win from that match to take to the second leg of the semi-final in the Netherlands on Thursday night. That's one of our midweek commentaries, live from Alkmaar, AZ, against West Ham Thursday night. We'll be in Milan again. Ian Dennis and Pat Nevin will be back in Milan for Inter against AC Milan on Tuesday night. And 5 Live is the place to listen to Manchester City Real Madrid on Wednesday evening. Don't miss that. Everton coming forward down the right hand side, but Patterson's ball in field. It will be on the stretch, but with that stretch could just give possession back to the visitors. And Diaz now bringing it forward to his central defensive partner to his left today, Laporte. Akanji now on the left hand side, back in field towards Laporte, Emerick Laporte, and then Rodri back into the centre circle. Everton again, just as Leon Osman was describing, Manchester City in possession. Everton have dropped right off them and are saying to this Manchester City team, find a way through if you can. Foden on the left hand side, Gundogan now on the left side of the box, but in comes the challenge from Idrissa Gueye, outstretched foot, deflected the cross behind for another corner.
Yeah, again that run from Gundogan this time in behind, and Everton full back ball out to Foden, played in behind for the runner. They have a real good ability to just raise the tempo of 2 passes consecutively and catch the opposition's defence out, Manchester City. They nearly did there. Gana Gueye had to come all the way across to make that challenge.
Alvarez with the corner then. The Argentine raises both of his arms down in that corner, and it's a right-footed in-swinger roll onto the roof of the net. Pickford came for it, but knew it was dropping over, and the delivery meant to whip it, didn't he? Just got too much on it, and it landed on the top of the netting and behind. Goal kick.
Yeah, Paul never really set it out far enough away from goal that it was going to trouble the goalkeeper. It was always going to drift over the top of Jordan Pickford's goal there. But the fact Manchester City have got 3 really tall centre halves, Kyle Walker, Rodri and Haaland as well, just be asked to just put a delivery in there, so something we can go and attack, try and score a goal from.
Still 0-0, Everton 0, Manchester City 0. I was at the Fulham match, which was their last away game in the Premier League, Manchester City, and it just has a little bit of a feel of that to it. It was a hard-fought win against Fulham. Remember, they got the early goal in that match, and here they are going to be difficult to break down, Everton, it would appear, on the evidence that we've seen so far. Remember, it was a 1-1 draw when the sides met, when Frank Lampard was still manager on New Year's Eve.
A wonderful goal from Tamari Gray equalising, but the first goal in this game is crucial.
Yep.
Both teams know it.
Mahrez playing it in, a deep one to the back post, but Patterson was there shoulder to shoulder with Foden, and it was the Everton man who got his head to it to put it behind. It's another corner from the left hand side, the Manchester City left. So Alvarez has already had 1 goal, and that's it. It's going to be Gundogan this time after the last effort.
1 and off.
1 and off. That's Manchester City.
Well, it just shows their standards. If you mess up one in that manner, you're off them. Don't stand on the edge of the box, son.
Gundogan takes it to the corner of the area. Alvarez, square from him. Mahrez on the edge of the D, gives it back to Alvarez, bounces to Gundogan, who chips it into the back post, and Pickford wasn't absolutely 100% sure of his bearings, backpedaling, and he actually reached out for the post behind him. I think at the point he knew it was over the top and sort of rattled the frame of the goal.
Yeah,
goal kick.
I think the last couple of steps he realised it was comfortably going over, but there was a moment where he had a stutter and backpedaled quickly, and Manchester City nearly worked something in a clever manner there. Mahrez on the edge of the penalty area, but Tarkowski came screaming out from his marking position to stop a shot.
Pickford, poor goal kick, straight to his England teammate Foden. However, Foden's touch gave it back to Everton. Now he has Calvert-Lewin, brown hair tied up. Calvert-Lewin turns, tries to play the pass to Iwobi, but Akanji very quick. He is sharp as well, Akanji, as well as everything else. Comes back to McNeil centrally. McNeil forced away to the far side by Rodri, still going in possession of the ball in his orange boots. McNeil then back to the halfway line to Tarkowski, and Tarkowski will pass it all the way back to Pickford, who is 5 or 6 yards outside of his penalty area. And then Mina takes it on. Yerry Mina to Garner, and then Garner, closely watched by Gundogan. Oh, poor touch from Patterson, but then I think Garner might have been caught by Gundogan. He was. Referee Taylor just took his time there, blew the whistle, and gave the free kick Everton's way.
Yeah, I think it just about was, and it was fortunate, I think, from Everton. Opportunity for Manchester City maybe to get in behind the Everton defence that was on the halfway line for a change. We haven't seen Everton this advanced trying to take possession of the ball.
Everton 0, Manchester City 0. We've got some of the analysts sitting in front of us here, and judging by what's going on there, I think there might be some technical issues going on, because there's a lot of shuffling around and lifting up and using bits of kit and whatnot. McNeil playing this in, left-footed towards the edge of the penalty area. It's coming off the head of Diaz. It's a corner to Everton. That's all it takes to lift the crowd inside Goodison.
Yeah, I've said it before, the crowd are desperate to help the team out and cheering, closing down in advanced positions, cheering, winning set pieces. They know how important a set piece could be to the outcome of this game.
Under the big screen next to the park stand, Garner lifts the ball up, that's a signal clearly, and then plays it in. Ederson comes and gets a punch on it. The Manchester City goalkeeper headed back in by Patterson, and then headed away by Haaland. Almost the first time I've said his name, Haaland, in the match. And then on the halfway line, Mahrez is beaten to it, and it's returned to Pickford, who gets rid of it, right-footed downfield. Akanji underneath that, next to Iwobi. Gundogan on the halfway line, then back to Rodri through the middle to Alvarez. Oh, good play from Gay, took it away from him. Doucouré as well, kept possession, brings it out to the right hand side. Sean Dyche pointing the way, and then Iwobi couldn't find the pass back to Doucouré, and it's out of play for a throw-in. But lots of hand clapping from Sean Dyche in his white shirt on the edge of the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see the game plan Everton are trying to use today. Drop away, don't engage too high up, make sure that you don't expose one or two players that Manchester City can pop the ball around and get in behind you. Retreat, but the moment you win the ball back, let's all burst forward, let's try and expose that Manchester City are up in advanced positions. Hasn't worked exactly as Everton would have wanted yet, but you can see what they're trying to do.
Foden down the left hand side, slips the ball into the box, little deflection. Gundogan trying to take it on, and Patterson throws himself into the path of the ball. Mina was there as well, and between them both going to ground, the Everton men. And that was last ditch defending, and they got a block on it to put it behind for a corner.
Yeah, brilliant burst again from Manchester City. Foden and Gundogan down this left hand side, in behind the fullback. And you're right, Everton somehow dealt with it. I think Yerry Mina tackled Patterson into Foden. Really, they got away with it.
Yeah, Gundogan, and the corner is taken short. Alvarez comes back to Gundogan in the area, then back to Mahrez. Left foot shot that got right underneath that on the edge of the D and landed it halfway up the lower tier of the Gladys Street.
Yeah, didn't quite get his foot round the shot. Sean Dyche is clapping the Everton team for the way they defended that set piece, but it's as if Everton all retreat inside the 6-yard box. They allow Manchester City to look like they've got a serious overload to take it short. They do. They can manipulate the ball and they can find a way to get a shot. Everton seemingly prefer that than them deliver the ball in. You have to be careful doing that against quality players.
As Akanji heads the ball back to Ederson at the other end. Everton 0, Manchester City 0. I think all's calmed down, hasn't it, with the analysts? Various leads have been
Screens
produced.
Are all working.
Yeah, a few USB sticks have been produced, and everything's okay. They won't have these problems at the new stadium, Leon.
I would certainly hope not.
No, well, you would. I see that the roof has come through a wind tunnel test.
Really?
So they'll be putting it on very shortly at the new stadium.
The new seats might be John Murray standard as well.
Well, I'm hoping
John Murray sized.
I'm hoping so. Bit of legroom, 2024 style. So Everton 0, Manchester City 0. And we now have a choice of listening for you, by the way. Sports Extra is your place if you want to listen to the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester United, live from a packed Wembley Stadium. We'll keep you updated on it here on 5 Live. But Sports Extra for the commentary, Chelsea against Manchester United. It's Everton 0, Manchester City 0. And it's shaping up to be a tight one here. Arsenal supporters on the way to the Brighton match might well be tuning in for this. And so far from Everton, there's plenty of encouragement for you. Everton, of course, have got their own reason to fight for the result down at the bottom. Here's Rodri to Alvarez, under pressure as well. Back to Walker. McNeil herring around there. They like that, the Everton fans. Akanji then plays it back to Ederson, with Idrissa Gueye trying to get there, but Rodri put in a challenge on him, and then Mina on Haaland wins an aerial challenge, and even that on its own has produced an enormous roar from Goodison Park. Mina's challenge on Haaland.
They want to see their team playing aggressively. You understand that when you're playing against Manchester City, you can't always go toe-to-toe. You have to drop away, you have to respect what they've got, not give them spaces to play into. But there are times when you have to press them high up as a team as well, and not quite gamble, but press as a team. And the Everton fans are desperate to see the team do that.
Pass from Diaz for Mahrez. Walker on the overlap now down the right-hand side for City. Has a couple of looks, and then the cross is deflected behind the near post by Holgate. It's a cornered on Manchester City from the right-hand side. But I think it's entirely predictable, isn't it? After Rudiger did the man-marking job on Haaland the other night, that all manner of big, bruising central defenders will be thinking, right, that's what I'm going to be doing against Haaland. But I think he's big enough to withstand that, Haaland. But Mina, so far so good for him. And Everton, 0-0. But a corner that is taken to Foden on the edge of the box, unmarked. Left foot shot is blocked inside the area, possibly by McNeil. It's into a crowd of players. Comes back centrally for Manchester City. Walker, Alvarez now towards the left-hand side here, moves infield and then taps it back to Walker near the centre circle, then back to Alvarez as well. Scored an excellent goal in that win at Fulham, remember. Here's the cross to the back post, which bounces down, and a twisting McNeil is able to volley the ball away. Manchester City come back at Everton though. Foden now on the right-hand side for the time being. Mahrez weaving his way forward. Mahrez, 15 goals this season, into Alvarez, but it's won back by Garner, and now Calvert-Lewin forward into the centre circle, and then draws the challenge from Mahrez. He was looking for it, but there was contact, went down and wins the free kick.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for it. As he won the ball, as he was played the ball, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he was halfway in between his own penalty area and the halfway line, and he was by far the most advanced Everton player. He managed to get to the edge of the D in the Manchester City half before getting the foul. No Everton player was getting anywhere near him, and that's the difficulty when you defend as deep as Everton have and you're having to work as hard as you have. It's such a long way to the opposition's goal.
Free kick is taken by McNeil, forward into the penalty area. Walker heads away. Garner tries to turn it across the box, but that's blocked by Mahrez. Garner underneath it just volleys it high to the edge of the penalty area. This is very scruffy. It's rattling around on the edge of the box and then bounces across to Foden, who hits it downfield left-footed, and Alvarez is after that, and Mina comes across, and Idrissa Gueye is there as well, and between them they've managed to deal with that, and they dealt with it well. I thought for a moment there Alvarez might have been away, Leon.
Yeah, everyone in the stadium thought for a moment Alvarez was away. I think the ball bounced so high it was difficult for him to take, but Dwight McNeil, the player who must have spotted the danger early, ran 60 yards across the field to help Mina and Idrissa Gueye resolve that situation. But Manchester City won't get too many opportunities on the counter-attack with the way Everton play, and that was a big one.
You're absolutely right, it was Dwight McNeil who was putting in the challenge, and the fastest man back towards the edge of the box. You know, from perhaps not terribly promising beginnings, Dwight McNeil has turned into a bit of a favourite here, and that's why. And here is now Garner winning it in the centre circle against Diaz, and Garner now to Calvert-Lewin, who rides the first challenge from Laporte, but then the covering challenge was there from Kyle Walker to take it away off his toe and put it behind for a corner to Everton.
Yeah, those are the opportunities Everton are trying to wait for today. Just a sloppy touch or a lack of concentration for Man City on the halfway line. Garner steps in. Everton broke, I think it was 4v3 in the end before Manchester City scrambled players back. They're so quick in recovery. Calvert-Lewin nearly skipping past Diaz and Laporte, but as you said, Walker coming over just in the nick of time before he could get his shot away from 12 yards.
McNeil with this corner in front of the Park stand. McNeil deep one to the back post. Tarkowski heads it down and then over. A stretching effort from Holgate. He got underneath it and lifted it high into the stand. Whether a free kick had been given or not, I'm not sure. For the initial challenge, I think it was by Tarkowski, who won the first header. No, I don't think it was.
Oh, that is a huge chance. Exactly what Everton are waiting for. Big ball around the back. Tarkowski coming over the top. Heads it back across goal rather than on target. And Holgate in 3 or 4 yards of space, completely unmarked, just didn't get his finish right at all.
And so Manchester City attack with the score still 0-0. Foden crosses left-footed, but that's away by Tarkowski. But only back to Manchester City. Rodri's low shot, and Pickford goes down to make the save down to his right. Just stunned it and then gathered the ball into his body. Just didn't have the whip that Rodri wanted.
No, I think Pickford would have been really disappointed had Rodri beat him with that kind of shot from that kind of distance. He had to make sure his handling was good, as you'd expect. Haaland wasn't far away with regards to any rebound that was spilled, but really good play again from Phil Foden against Patterson down in front of us. That's been a really good tussle between the two.
It has. Everton 0, Manchester City 0. I was also going to make the point, you know, when Mahrez fouled Calvert-Lewin in the centre circle, that Sean Dyche, a long conversation with Graham Scott there, with his hand over his mouth, Sean Dyche, but I suspect had his hand not been there, we might be able to lip read the fact that he thought that should have been a yellow card. Yeah, not sure. For the first time.
Yeah, because Everton are trying to counter-attack, and every time they're fouled in those situations, it is an opportunity stopped in a clever way, you'd say, from Manchester City.
Yeah, I think that would be the point Sean Dyche was making. Ball played over the top. Here is Mahrez now down the right hand side. McNeil went with him. He's worked ever so hard, McNeil. He's been everywhere. And now Rodri curls one into the box, but that's headed away by Mina. Nodded further away, but only to Diaz for Manchester City. Going to go to Wembley in a moment, but Manchester City on the attack. Walker, Mahrez now carrying the ball towards the corner of the box. In it goes, and the ball into the net. A shot on the turn, and it's Gundogan. Gundogan opens the scoring for Manchester City, and he's there again, scoring in the Premier League last weekend, and now Manchester City's first, crucially for them, here at Goodison Park. Everton 0, Manchester City 1.
Oh, what a good finish that is from İlkay Gundogan. Manchester City haven't got the ball into the penalty area in this way too often up till now. They just moved the ball to the right hand side, filtered it. Mahrez crosses from the corner of the penalty area, and I'd say 7 yards out, centre of goal, back to goal. Riyad Mahrez manages to control it on his thigh, spin Patterson, who thinks he's going to shoot first time, so gambles on blocking the shot. He controls it with his thigh on the outside of his shoulder, spins onto his left side, but flicks it with his right foot over his right shoulder. Not quite an overhead kick, but certainly an overhead flick right into the corner. Jordan Pickford, full stretch, had absolutely no chance in. Those are the quality moments that Manchester City possess. Everton have had a go in this game, but Manchester City have real quality to score in any moment, as they just did there.
What a finish that is. That's quite special by İlkay Gundogan, and it's the same combination as the 2 goals against Leeds last weekend, when, as you'll remember, Gundogan missed a penalty for his hat-trick. But that was a remarkable finish, really. It bounced up. He had a lot to do. 8-9 yards out, and flicked it with his back to goal. His right foot up to chest height, and the direction was almost perfect. back behind him into the bottom corner.
It's such intelligent play. They've just exposed Everton. They had an overload. The fact they've got Alvarez and Haaland.
And here he is again, Gundogan, goalman Gundogan, in it goes to the back post, and it's headed in, and Haaland has made it 2-0. Goal number 52 of the season for the big Norwegian. And in a couple of minutes, Manchester City have taken a grip on this game, which looked awkward for them here at Goodison Park. First Gundogan, now Haaland. Everton 0, Manchester City 2.
I quite often say you're at your most vulnerable when you've just scored or when you've just conceded, and that's exactly what happened with Everton there. They've defended quite well for the majority of this game. They conceded the opening goal to a bit of brilliance, and then in this moment look completely exposed by Manchester City. Brilliant down that left hand side again. Gundogan and Foden heavily involved. Gundogan with the cross, centre of goal, probably about 4 yards out. There's nobody getting above Haaland in that situation. It's beautifully put onto his head over Pickford, couldn't do anything about it. Probably 5 yards out, and he heads it goalwards. Pickford can't do anything about it. Brilliant play from Manchester City. They do know how to take a game away from teams. It's up to Everton to try now and react in the way Leeds did at the Etihad. Just try and stay in the game, because at the moment Manchester City look like they're on fire.
That's just what they've done. 2 goals in 2 minutes. Gundogan scoring the first and then setting up the second for Haaland. Dominant in the air, as we've mentioned. Really, he's hardly been involved in the match. Mina had done well against him, but in the middle of the goal, arriving, just headed the ball back into the middle of the goal, so Pickford was coming across from his right to the left, and even though he tried to get a hand to it on the goal line, he'd gone too far, and it was in. And it's Everton 0, Manchester City 2. Everton 0 with Doucouré on the right hand side. Low ball across is cleared away by the left foot of Diaz, and the offside flag now is up. So let's get another update on the Brentford-West Ham match, the other 2 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League. Jonathan Overend.
4 minutes to half time. It remains Brentford 1, West Ham 0, but they should be further ahead. They've had the bulk of the possession, and they've had some brilliant chances, Brentford, in addition to Mbeumo's goal. Wissa forced a good save from Fabianski, and a moment ago an incredible goal line clearance from a cluster of West Ham bodies when a goal looked certain. Brentford 1, West Ham 0.
And the choice of listening we have for you on BBC Radio is either Everton 0, Manchester City 2, or the FA Cup final at Wembley between Chelsea and Manchester United. And how's it started, Nick Godwin?
12 minutes gone. It's a good start by Manchester United women. It's 0-0. They had the ball in the net after just 20 seconds. Leah Goldson capitalising on a mistake in the Chelsea back line, but the flag was up for offside. Chelsea are weathering something of an early storm. You can listen to live commentary on 5 Sports Extra, or you can watch it on BBC One. It's 0-0.
And Coventry 0, Middlesbrough 0. We'll have more on that, I would imagine, at half-time, the first leg of the playoff semi-final. Everton 0, Manchester City 2, and Pep Guardiola's team have taken a grip on this with goals in, I made it the 37th and the 39th minutes, and that for Haaland, scoring here at the home of Dixie Dean. That's his 36th Premier League goal of the season, in the week that he was named as the Football Writers Footballer of the Year. The first of quite a few, I would have thought, Leon.
You'd expect so. Well, he's been performing. You just don't see him stopping what he's doing at the moment. Manchester City will continue to create chances for him, and he will dispatch them. And it all started with the finish from Ilkay Gundogan, a move that came out of nowhere, a finish of real intelligence and quality.
Ball played forward, but referee spotted a foul on Haaland. It was hit long, but Haaland forward of the centre circle was blocked, and it's a free kick to Manchester City, 5 or 6 yards ahead of the centre circle. Back to Brentford, Jonathan Overend, because
it's 2-0 to Brentford, John, and they thoroughly deserve it. They've completely dominated this first half. Johan Wissa has got the second with a neat header. Brentford 2, West Ham 0.
So almost half-time there and almost half-time here. Home side 2-0 up at Brentford, away team 2-0 up here at Goodison Park. Sean Dyche deep in discussions. Steve Stone and Ian Woan down there to his left in their light rain jackets. Don't really need them on a day like this. Lovely. The Everton flag, the crest, flying high above the Bullens Road stand. But Manchester City flying high with those 2 goals. Free kick, Mahrez into the penalty area, headed away across the box by Tarkowski, and then Kyle Walker, I think inadvisedly, goes for goal from way out on the right hand side and just blasts it high and across and high up into the lower tier of the stand.
Yeah, a right smile from him as well, because he realised how bad that was, that attempt. I'm still not sure if it was an attempted sidewinding cross or an attempted shot on goal, but dreadfully wrong. But they won't mind. Love to see themselves going at 2-0 up.
Well, whether it was a sidewinder or not, it didn't hit the target. Everton 0, Manchester City 2. Patterson on the right. Patterson's ball forward, but that'll bounce all the way through to Ederson. And those 2 goals have rather flattened the atmosphere inside Goodison Park. Did so well, really, for 37 minutes. There were relatively few chances in the match, but that's Manchester City.
Yeah, teams of real quality, and I think that Everton, as I said, have now got to try and stay in the game till half-time, certainly, and then come out in the second half. Don't feel you need to get the goal initially, but stay in the game. You saw what Leeds did. They nearly got something in the end.
Iwobi back into his own penalty area to prevent Gundogan taking it on, and then falls as he puts it out for a throw down the left-hand side. So with Haaland getting to 52 goals in all competitions, that now goes back to equaling Steve Bull's total. If you're looking at all of the teams, all of the 92 clubs, Steve Bull scored 52 in all competitions for Wolves back in 1987-88, but Wolves were in Division 4 at the time. However, brilliant total, and Haaland has equalled it.
That's a ridiculous total for any division, and you wouldn't put him past him. What's it now, 11 goals behind Dixie Dean?
Yeah.
He's got 5, potentially 6 games to play. It's not out of the realms of possibility.
Here is Gundogan to the edge of the area. Foden now trying to find a way through. Excellent play. Lifts the ball to the back post. Haaland stretching, just got a glancing header on it. Out to Mahrez. 2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. Mahrez still with the ball at his feet, caressing it beautifully. And then back to the edge of the box. Laporte, Rodri, back to Mahrez again in the area, looking for the overlap of Walker. Walker into the near post, rattling around in the 6-yard box. And it's cleared away. And Holgate, in these 2 minutes of added time, clears it away. But only back to Manchester City.
Oh, that should have been the 3rd goal from Manchester City. Beautiful play, sucking in the Everton players exactly where City want them, timing the overlap brilliantly, playing it across. Gundogan actually had an effort, went past Pickford, and I think it's Yerry Mina who slid to ground really early. I think it hit him on the line and ricocheted away, so close to the 3rd goal, right into the stroke for half-time for City.
Everton 0, Manchester City 2. From a commentator's point of view, even by its standards today, Goodison Park outdoing itself. Almost everything that's happened in that penalty area, from my angle, has happened behind the post. Both goals scored behind the post. Here is Foden. Jimmy Armfield always used to be very good in this position. He always seemed to be able to see through the post. Ball into the penalty area, is headed down and away. Everton only half clear it. Here's Alvarez on the right, taking on McNeil, who puts in the challenge, and the ball's out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City, 10 yards away from the corner flag. So Manchester City have come up with a couple of moments there that champions produce. And even with this team, 4 changes he made today, Pep Guardiola. I think that's going to be certainly a question to ask Pep Guardiola after the match, whether this was always the team that he was likely to play in this match, providing they go on to win it, of course. And as Leon Osman says, what Everton are doing now is looking to stay in the game, but Manchester City looking to stretch their lead. Walker back to Gundogan, but that's it for the first half. Those 2 goals within 2 minutes, late in the half, from Gundogan and Haaland, have put Manchester City in control, Leon Osman.
Yeah, I felt like Everton, to use a boxing term, were trying to rope-a-dope. They sat so deep, they allowed Manchester City to bring the pressure on, and then they tried to burst into life with a couple of knockout blows on the counter-attack. But Manchester City, with the knockout blow of their own, they waited, they were patient, they moved the ball and then possessed real quality. The goal was an outstanding finish from an outstanding, intelligent player in Ilkay Gundogan. Brilliant touch, swivel, finish, and then, as City do when they're on top, they use that momentum to get the second goal. I think Everton did well to stay in the game, considering City could have scored a third on the stroke of half-time. But it's time to regroup. City will be pleased. Pep will be hoping for another goal and then maybe ring the changes in the second half. Everton need a goal back themselves. They need to be brave. They need to press City higher up. The crowd will get right behind the team if they do. It's stick or twist time for Everton. We'll see what the managers have to say at half-time.
But what looked like a potentially tricky one for Manchester City, no problem so far. Half-time, Everton 0, Manchester City 2.
Yeah, 35 plus minutes were great for Everton, Leon, but if you give Manchester City an inch, they will take a mile.
Of course, quality teams always do. Teams that are experienced in winning championships, you know they're going to take that opportunity. They possess quality all over the field. It was Gundogan who got the opening goal. It could have been any of the City players. There's a real trust within their team to do that, and that's why Everton's decision to defend really deep on their edge of the penalty area, it seems, for that whole 45 minutes, and probably it would have been for the whole 90 minutes, it's so difficult against a real quality opposition in Manchester City. You lose your concentration in one position for one moment and they'll punish you. And Everton haven't had the quality to go 90 yards in one move up the other pitch and trouble Ederson either. They've had a couple of moments, but Ederson's not had to make a save yet. So, yeah, it'll be a good half. Pep will be really pleased with that half-time. Sean Dyche work to do.
John, you had Pongo wearing the other week, Steve Bull this week. Is there anyone in between here and Dixie Dean, or is it just waiting to see if he gets there?
There is someone there between him and Dixie Dean.
And you're not going to reveal who?
Well, should we wait until he eventually gets there? But I'll give you a clue. Peterborough.
Craig McHale-Smith?
No. It's not for you to guess at. That's
sorry.
That's one for the listeners.
I was going to say, thank goodness for that.
But he needs another couple. He needs another couple to get to that next player furthest back in history.
Well, if you think you know, 85058 at 5 Live Sport. John, Leon, thank you very much for the time being. Everton 0, Manchester City 2. It's also half-time at Brentford. Jonathan Overend.
And Brentford are playing really well today. It's a perfect demonstration of how they go about their business, particularly here at home at the GTEC Community Stadium. Brentford 2, West Ham 0. West Ham, of course, have made 9 changes, but Brentford themselves are without Ivan Toney, a tight hamstring ahead of this one, so he's not risked. But no Toney, no problem. They're playing Wissa down the middle, Sharda off the left and Burmo off the right. And Burmo got the first goal, unmarked, simple finish, 20 minutes. And Wissa got the second 3 minutes before the break after Mee had flicked on Jensen's long throw. Not too much offered by the West Ham second string, although Ings' shot from distance tested rare. Brentford in firm control, leading 2-0.
And it would take Brentford up to 9th in the table if they can convert that half-time score into all 3 points. Let's go back to the Women's FA Cup final. Chelsea-Manchester United at Wembley Stadium. A full Wembley. Nick Godwin.
22 minutes played. Still Manchester United women 0, Chelsea women 0. But Manchester United have had the better opportunities so far. They had the ball in the net after 20 seconds. Leah Galton's goal was ruled out for offside, though. Nikita Parris's shot from the edge of the box has forced a relatively comfortable save by Anne-Katrine Berger in the Chelsea goal. But it is Manchester United who've never won this competition, who are very much on top in these opening exchanges. Chelsea reduced to trying to find Sam Kerr with long balls forward. I get the feeling the Manchester United bench are a bit disappointed they're not in front. We've had 22 minutes. It's 0-0. Don't forget you can listen to the whole game live on 5 Sports Extra right now, and you can watch it on BBC One.
Thank you, Nick. Love it when the reporters do the trail for me, so I don't forget. Great stuff. Nick Godwin there, who's at Wembley Stadium. Earlier it was a goalless draw between Coventry and Middlesbrough in the first leg of the Championship playoff semi-final. The winners will face either Sunderland or Luton. Sunderland leading 2-1 from the first leg. In the National League South playoffs, Oxford City have reached the 5th tier of English football for the first time in their history. They beat St Albans 4-0. Later on, Bradford are in action against Carlisle in the League 2 semi-finals. First leg's kickoff of that is at 7 o'clock. We will take you to the Emirates for the first time this afternoon, shortly ahead of Arsenal Brighton. Full commentary at 4:30. We'll also be in the Rugby Union Premiership semi-finals as well after the latest news on 5 Live with Joe Critcher.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Around 20,000 households in West Sussex are without water after a failure at a local supply plant. Southern Water says it decided to shut down the site because low levels of chlorine had been detected. Some customers have now been cut off for more than 12 hours. The local Conservative MP, Andrew Griffiths, says emergency water stations are urgently needed.
Water is a necessity of life. None of us can cope very long without clean water. And so it's really important that we get more water stations across the area impacted and more water drops in local villages that can then help distribute water, particularly to those who are vulnerable.
2 17-year-old boys have been charged with murdering a third teenager in Sheffield. Adam Abdul Basit, who was 19, was found with a stab wound in the Woodhouse area of the city last Monday. Germany says it will continue to support Ukraine for as long as required. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has travelled there for talks. Berlin has announced it's going to supply nearly £2.5 billion worth of weapons to Kyiv. Here's our correspondent Jenny Hill.
To put that into context, that will approximately double the amount of weapons and military aid that Germany has sent so far. An enormous gesture, and one which has been welcomed by President Zelensky, who, for his part, has been very keen to underline his gratitude, not just to the German government and German political leaders, but to German families, German taxpayers, as he put it.
The leader at the Royal College of Nursing is calling on the Health Secretary to restart pay negotiations with a proposed rise in double digits. The union will ballot for further strike action later this month. A powerful cyclone is hitting the coastlines of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Cyclone Mocha is bringing heavy rain and winds of up to 120 miles per hour. And the best shows and actors on British television will go head-to-head this evening at the BAFTA TV Awards in London. This Is Going to Hurt and The Responder lead the nominations.
Australia, a great place for families.
The cost of the journey halfway around the world is £10.
Can't believe we're actually doing this.
Here we go then, start of our new lives.
G'day, g'day. Welcome to paradise.
Brand new drama.
It's like a prisoner at a war camp.
They lied to us, showed us whitewashed houses and they showed us huge gardens.
Starring Michelle Keegan.
For the first time in a long time.
We'll be happy.
£10 Poms.
We can have a wonderful life here, but we need to embrace it.
Starts today on BBC iPlayer. More live Premier League football than anyone else.
5 Live's Premier League Sunday
with Steve Crossman.
Everton 0, Manchester City 2, half-time in the Premier League, second half on the way. It's Brentford 2, West Ham 0, and it is Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0 in the Women's FA Cup final. You can watch it on BBC One. You can listen to it on 5 Sports Extra. In 3 minutes' time, the second of Rugby Union's Premiership semi-finals will kick off. Sale taking on the reigning champions Leicester. This is for the right to play Sarries in the final. You can listen to commentary of this as well. It's on the BBC Sport website. Let's bring in Sarah Orchard and the former England centre Luther Burrell, who are at the AJ Bell Stadium. Sarah, you've got a bit of breaking news for us.
Yeah, that's right. I hope you can hear us here from the AJ Bell. It is so noisy right now. But yeah, breaking news from the Leicester Tigers, and that is that their South African World Cup winning fly half, Andre Pollard, is out. He's got an injury. We think it's a calf injury. He did get off the bus. Everyone was a little bit confused here because he was sort of almost about to go out and warm up with everyone else, but he stayed in the stands, and that means that Jimmy Gopperth is going to start at fly half. I mean, he's a fantastic fly half in his own right, but now 39 years old. Luther Burrell alongside. This is a big blow for the Tigers.
Yes, we cannot underestimate that. This is a huge blow for Leicester. Just hours before one of the biggest games of the season. It's their biggest game of the season, up to date. He's been a crucial player for them this year, turning around their season mid-season. He's been vital for them, so a huge blow. Obviously, Jimmy Gopperth now comes in. He brings a wealth of experience, but he lacks that dynamism and that flair that Pollard does offer this team. So it's very unfortunate for Leicester. Huge blow.
Luther, how big a role is that noise going to play today? It sounds fantastic.
Sorry, I can barely hear you, but it is.
That's ironic.
It's going to be a fantastic occasion. I was just saying, what they've done up here for Northern Rugby is fantastic. The noise is immense. The atmosphere around here is just fantastic. It's going to be like playing with 16 men for Sale Sharks this afternoon.
Yeah, well said, Luther. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. As I say, commentary on the BBC Sport website. Elsewhere, the big news today, Maurizio Pochettino has agreed to take over as the next manager of Chelsea. He'll join the club in the summer. Frank Lampard remains as interim boss until the end of the season. Let's bring you right up to date with the cricket. It's the last day of the latest round of county championship matches. Kevin Howells.
6 ongoing games at the start of this final day, Steve. Now 5 and soon to be 4. I think earlier Durham clinched a nail-biting 1-wicket win over Yorkshire in the second division, chasing 246. Ben Rain 50 not out, but coming into bat, still needing 2 runs to win. That 1 wicket left, the injured Bryden Cast. He saw them home. He now could be out for up to 2 months, but not before taking Durham clear at the top of the second division. In Division 1 here at the Oval, Middlesex bowled out second innings for 240 by their London rivals Surrey. Surrey only needs 70 for victory. They're 51 for 1. Elsewhere in Division 1, heading towards a draw at Manchester, Somerset second innings 289 for 5, a lead of 324. That would be Lancashire's 5th draw from 5 games this season. And Hampshire looking for wickets at Canterbury came to 185 for 4. They trail at the moment by 93 runs still. All those commentaries can be found on the BBC Sport website and app. There you go. I thought I'd help you out as well.
Nailed it, Kevin. Nailed it. Had it in front of me and you did it for me. Thank you very much. And by the way, that ball-by-ball service is absolutely magnificent from our colleagues in BBC Local Radio. Always has been, always will be. Our second football commentary of the day will come from the Emirates, Arsenal against Brighton. That's where we find Ali Bruce Ball. Afternoon, Ali.
Yeah, enjoying the sunshine in North London, Steve. Afternoon.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Beautiful.
The only thing that might slightly dampen the spirits where you are is the scoreline at Goodison.
Yeah, but I think to be expected. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Everton beat Brighton 5-1, and I'm sure Arsenal fans were hoping against hope that they might be able to, take some points off Manchester City today. I don't think Arsenal fans or Mikel Arteta or the players would have necessarily been expecting that. Pep Guardiola said this week, and I agree with him, I think Arsenal may well win their last 3 games of the season. So this is Brighton today, they're away at Nottingham Forest, and then they're at home against Wolves. It still might not be enough, but if they can win the next 2, whatever happens, they would be ahead of Manchester City before Manchester City's next game against Chelsea. So that's a sort of avenue they can explore to try and put a bit of pressure on. But City are once again very impressive, aren't they?
Yeah, and look, hope springs eternal, particularly when you've got somebody like Martin Ødegaard in the form that Martin Ødegaard is in.
Totally, Steve. I mean, fabulous goal return as well, isn't it? 5 in the last 5, 15 in the season, and making everything tick. And every time you watch Arsenal, hugely impressed by him. We just come up to the top floor of the stadium here, so we're commentating from the gantry this afternoon, and you walk past a little sort of a wall of Arsenal captains, the pictures of all the Arsenal captains down the years, and obviously there are some great players and some great names there. And it was an interesting choice, wasn't it, by Mikel Arteta when he made Ødegaard his captain at the time, given the age he is, and had really not been at the club all that long, but it's been a brilliant choice.
It's a pretty rare thing that you can get to the middle of May and think, we can find out something about a team that we don't know. But we've not seen Brighton after an absolute thumping before, because they've been too good for that to happen.
Yeah, that's true, Steve, and I wouldn't expect that to happen again today. What I thought about that game, so obviously I listened to that on Monday on the way back from the Fulham-Leicester game, and then sort of thought, right, I've got to see that for myself and watch the highlights, and it seemed to me that Sean Dyche and Everton did a real job on Brighton there in terms of got themselves in front, really worked incredibly hard to try and nullify Brighton's threat from the flanks, so sort of doubling up on the wingers. And then Brighton probably pushed in the game a little bit too early to chase it and then kept getting done on the counter-attack. I think Arsenal, although they'll be concerned about, what Brighton can do when they've got the ball, will actually give Brighton more space to play in. And I think Brighton will quite enjoy that. So I would expect Brighton to score today. I'd expect both teams to score today, but I would expect a response from Brighton. I do think that was a bit of a freak result last Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, thank you very much. Ali, who will have Glenn Murray alongside him for full commentary of Arsenal versus Brighton. Really looking forward to that one at 4:30. But we've still got another 45 minutes to go at Goodison Park. Everton trailing 2-0 to Manchester City at the break. Leon Osman is with John Murray.
Well, 2-0 to Manchester City, and Neil Maupay is going to come on for Everton, and I believe it's going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin who's going to come off. Now, how do you think that's going to go down, Leon, when that's announced to the crowd?
Not very well, I've got to be honest. Whether it's a tactical change to keep him fresh, or the more concerning thing is that it's an injury. That would be concerning, because Everton may not get anything out of this game here today. What was the likelihood before the game, but there's 2 seriously huge games coming up on the horizon between now and the end of the season that they'll need him fully fit for.
Well, you're absolutely right. It might be that there's a problem there, but it might be that Sean Dyche is thinking 2-0 against Manchester City, and those 2 matches against Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, they're going to now be absolutely pivotal to decide Everton's future and whether they stay in the Premier League. So it's a big call by the manager.
It absolutely is, and Evertonians will be waiting desperately to hear the reason why, and they'll hope it's tactical. I think they'll be disappointed if they do find it's tactical as well, because at 2-0 the next goal in this game is crucial, and they'll feel maybe with Dominic and maybe Maupay on, they may get something from the game and really make a game of it. But more concerning is that it's not tactical and it's an injury. That will be a worry.
There's the board. Number 9 is up, so Dominic Calvert-Lewin is off, and a man in the stand in front of me has just turned around, put his hand on his face, and is shaking his head in disbelief. So I think that kind of sums up the reaction from the Everton supporters. Neal Maupay, who was brought here last in the summer transfer window, scored in his second appearance, hasn't scored since in 25 appearances for Everton. So that's the change. Calvert-Lewin, who I have to say did look sharp in the first half when Everton were able to come forward. So that is the only change that's been made at the break. Everton with Pickford in goal, Patterson, Mina, Tarkowski and Holgate. Garner and Gay with Doucouré breaking forward. Iwobi on the right, McNeil on the left, and now substitute Maupay. And Manchester City, as they started the match, Ederson in goal, Walker, Diaz, Laporte and Akanji. Then Rodri, and occasionally Akanji moving into midfield. Mahrez, Alvarez, Gundogan, Foden and Haaland. And the goals so far scored by Gundogan and Haaland. His 52nd goal in all competitions this season. And it is Everton who will get the second half underway. There is the whistle from Anthony Taylor. There's quite a delay from Garner before he eventually knocks the ball back to Tarkowski, who drives it long downfield, and then it's hooked forward for Manchester City, where it will be allowed to bounce out of play by Mina for a throw-in. So Everton, blue shirts, white shorts and the white socks with the blue tops against Manchester City in the yellowy away kit with the grey, the wide grey horizontal stripes across the shirts and grey socks, grey shorts and yellow socks. Ball to the edge of the penalty area, and there's an infringement after Laporte was challenged, and it's a free kick to Manchester City halfway inside their own half. So this scoreline, as we heard from Alistair Bruce Ball at Arsenal, not what they wanted to hear there. Manchester City would go 4 points clear at the top of the table, but at the other end, just the scoreline that Leicester and Leeds were hoping for. So 2-0, second half just underway here. They're running about half an hour behind us at Wembley in the FA Cup final. Nick Godwin.
Yes, we're having more chances for Manchester United here, and they're failing to convert. It's still 0-0. We've got 9 minutes to go to half-time. An excellent save from Anne-Katrin Berger, the Chelsea goalkeeper, after Millie Turner was confronted with goal about 6 yards out from a free kick that was lofted long. It took a deflection, and Berger got down to her left to push that away. They just had another chance, actually, Manchester United, that was put over the top. Chelsea reduced to lumping it long for Sam Kerr on occasion, and it's not really coming off. Manchester United on top, 0-0. Listen live on 5 Sports Extra and watch it on BBC One.
Yep, via your BBC Sounds, your digital radio, or indeed watch it on the iPlayer. Everton 0, Manchester City 2. And it is a rather subdued Goodison Park at the start of the second half. I must say, it feels like the wind has been blown out of it by Manchester City's late goals in the first half.
Yeah, and then compounded by the fact that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's had to be withdrawn, whether through tactical reasons or an injury, we're not quite sure yet, but withdrawn at half-time. And those Evertonians who are coming out late and turning and looking down at the pitch and started to realise he's not there, you are starting to hear a few groans throughout the stadium.
Well, Juliet Ferrington will find that out from Sean Dyche later, so keep listening for that. We'll hope to have Sean Dyche on live, but you'll certainly hear him at some point on 5 Live Sport this afternoon. Everton 0, Manchester City 2, and City just knocking the ball around inside their own half. And if they were able to get a third goal, now that would be dream scenario for Pep Guardiola, not only in the title race, but with Real Madrid coming up on Wednesday night. They would be able to ease off it, if they haven't already, and make those changes that Leon was talking about.
Yeah, I think that would have been the message at half-time. Well done in that first half, keep your standards high, but let's go after the third goal in the first 15 minutes of this second half, because then we can start to focus on Real Madrid.
Lovely play, Alvarez chesting it down, driving it out to Foden. Foden out of the edge of the area, he was brought down there. That's a free kick. It's a yellow card against Garner, and and that was the simplest decision that Anthony Taylor will have to make. Foden was at full tilt there, and Garner just bumped into him and knocked him over.
Yeah, clear foul. And if he hadn't brought him down, the drop of the shoulder, Phil Foden would have been inside the Everton penalty area with a bit of space created for himself. And he's such an elegant player to watch when he's running with the ball, the momentum, the way he touches it with the outside of that left foot. He can have big touches, he can have little touches, he can move it in and out. He dropped his shoulder on 2 Everton players there and sent them both completely the wrong way before Garner ended up bringing him down. And that was probably an important tackle, actually, for Everton's concern, because that could have certainly been the 3rd goal for City.
Well, Foden was running at pace and he went clattering down, and he stayed down. And this, for Phil Foden, it's only his 2nd start since March, since he had the appendix operation, and I think he might have twisted his knee as he was turning and rolling over. He might just have caught his boot in the ground, and he grasped his right knee. He's just getting to his feet, so while he does so, let's get an update from Brentford. Jonathan Overend.
It's played in the second half here, with Brentford in control against West Ham, leading by 2-0. They've started the second half strongly as well, threatening that Fabianski goal every time they go forward, really. Brentford 2, West Ham 0.
Free kick then for Manchester City. Foden, I think he's okay, Leon.
He's walking away gingerly, though. He's not completely convinced. He'll try and run it off. That certainly wouldn't be something to please Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, still limping, and he's got his hands on his hips now, his hands on his knees rather. But it's a free kick, and the question is here, the whistling is because Manchester City look as though their players in front of the wall. They've got a wall in front of the Everton wall, and the feeling is that they're too close to the Everton wall. They have to be a couple of yards away. Free kick though, Gundogan's over it. Gundogan goes for the top corner and scores. 3-0 Manchester City, and Gundogan, just like last weekend, has scored 2, and off he goes to celebrate. And Manchester City have got this wrapped up now here at Goodison. 3-0 they lead against Everton.
Yeah, outstanding from Ilkay Gundogan again. He is a real player for this Manchester City team, grown in stature, season on season, scores some really crucial goals in. No Kevin De Bruyne in the team. He's got free kick responsibilities and he doesn't disappoint. Over the top of the wall, Jordan Pickford can't get anywhere near it. It's not right in the top corner. It's certainly enough to be out of the reach of Jordan Pickford. Everton going without the modern day draft excluder, so the wall didn't jump. The wall stayed standing, gave Gundogan a little bit more room to get that ball up and down over the top of the wall, and he took every inch of it to deliver his 2nd and Manchester City's 3rd goal.
You're right, Leon. Jordan Pickford, it wasn't in the top corner, but Jordan Pickford, moving to his right, couldn't get close to it. And if the match wasn't already over at half-time, then surely Manchester City are destined for the 3 points here now, as they've won the ball back after Pickford's clearance. And Manchester City with a Kanji playing it to Foden on the left-hand side, who won the free kick. Seems okay, seems he's recovered from whatever sort of tweak that was, moving okay with the ball on the far side. And I think Sean Dyche is going to make some changes in a moment or two in reaction to going 3-0 down in this match. If it wasn't gone from them at half-time when he took Calvert-Lewin off, then he probably is now beginning to think towards those games against Wolves and Bournemouth. Manchester City still in possession. Their supporters jubilant now. Alvarez playing it through. Haaland with a little touch, and Gundogan was almost in after the hat-trick that he didn't get last weekend.
Yeah, nearly for Gundogan and Haaland. Beautiful touch from Haaland. And I mean, this game seems like it's over as a contest, but Mahrez around Holgate and then away from him, and Holgate brings him down, and now it's a free kick near the other corner of the penalty area for Manchester City. Yeah, Mahrez has terrorised Mason Holgate out wide for Manchester City. Just sucks him in, drops his shoulder, beats him comfortably on the outside. Holgate scrambles to give the free kick away in another dangerous position, edge of the penalty area. But just a feeling that this game is over as a contest. Manchester City aren't going to lose a 3-goal lead from this position, but you now start thinking about, when are City making changes? How many goals are Everton going to concede here? And that could be crucial to the end of season outcome. Premier League survival. They were 4 goals ahead of next team below them, Leeds United, going into this game. 3 of them have already gone. They need to make sure they keep chipping away to the end of this game.
Free kick then for Manchester City. Yes, Everton now minus 24 goal difference, Leeds minus 25, who are 1 point behind them and below the dotted line, Leeds United. Free kick, Gundogan and Mahrez again. You'd think Mahrez, but Gundogan's got all of the body language to suggest that he's going to take it, but now Mahrez looks more like it. Left-footed from him, deflected right across the 6-yard box, and Ghana was there to fall and get something on it to put it behind for a corner to Manchester City. So Everton 0, Manchester City 3, and it is a corner from the right. Gundogan 2 goals last weekend and the missed penalty, 2 goals this weekend, so that is now 9 for the season for him, having scored 10 last season. And still these discussions, as he called them, are ongoing about what happens to him at the end of this season. He's playing like a man who wants to continue at Manchester City. Gundogan takes this corner then, and then it's angled back to him by Alvarez, and Gundogan deep to the back post, but over the top of Haaland and through for a goal kick. So Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Let's get an update from the other Premiership playoff semi-final that is being played today, kicked off at 3 o'clock. Sale against Leicester. Sarah Orchard.
It is Sale 0, Leicester Tigers 6 here. We've got 13 minutes now on the clock, and as much as Sale started brightly, it has all been about the Tigers, the reigning champions, who are composed. They are completely ruling the roost. Just had a bit of afters from a last penalty that's going to go the Tigers' way. It is 6-0 to the away team, playing for the right to face Saracens in a fortnight's time in the Twickenham Showpiece.
Everton making 2 more changes. Holgate is off, and there was actually a cheer from the Everton fans when his number went up, which is I mean, I know he's not had the best of days, Leon, but that's quite cruel.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that. Every player that goes on the field is giving their all, but you're right, he's not had a good day. He had Mahrez to skip by him as if he wasn't there half the time. And I think that change, or that double change from Everton, has actually changed the system maybe. I think Connor Cody's joined as well. Everton now look like they've gone Tarkowski, Cody, Mina at the back, Patterson right wing back, maybe McNeil left wing back. We're just going to see. Maybe Mina's gone right back, Patterson right midfield. We'll be able to see more about that as the game develops.
Well, this is quite a reshuffle, isn't it? Connor Cody coming on, having not played in the last 11 matches. He's been an unused substitute in the last 11. So he makes his return to action. And Onana coming on in midfield. So Gay and Holgate off after Dominic Calvert-Lewin went off at half-time. Everton with a ball across the penalty area by Patterson, pushing forward, but Manchester City, Kyle Walker takes possession, and now Alvarez, and then Haaland with a heavy touch, which is giving it back to the blue shirts. Ghana through the middle, Maupay in the D, Maupay forced to give it back to Doucouré, full 360 degrees because Laporte and Haaland were in front of him, and then it comes back centrally to the newly arrived Onana. Everton 0, Manchester City 3, still Brentford 2, West Ham 0, and still Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0 in the FA Cup final at Wembley. You can hear that on Sports Extra. And Everton with Onana forward towards Iwobi. Now to the left-hand side. Here is McNeil. Left-footed cross, but that's over. Well, it was only Maupay in the middle, high above his head, and the ball just bounces behind near the corner flag for a goal kick to Manchester City, Leon Osman.
Oh, but that change of system has just found a couple of spaces for this Everton team for 15 minutes either side of half-time, 10 minutes either side of half-time. They haven't been able to get a kick off Manchester City. It's been so easy for City to move it round. Everton haven't been able to get any kind of passing together within the team, but just suddenly change of system, just found Everton in between positions that made it easier for them to find each other in possession.
And nice footwork from Iwobi on the left-hand side, goes past a couple of men. And then Maupay, back centrally to Onana. And then to the right-hand side, Patterson brings it down. Patterson, then back for the cross from Mina, but that was straight at Rodri, who was able to clear it away. Interestingly, 3-0 up. Pep Guardiola has yet to make a change. I thought after the third goal, I thought there might be at least one, maybe two. But he's biding his time, all in black down there. He has actually got his sleeves rolled up, Pep Guardiola. And Onana now down the left towards Iwobi. Onana now onto this, but his cross is into the shins of Diaz. And that bounces behind for an Everton corner that the Ghana will come across to take in front of the rather subdued Gladys Street end. That cheer there, they've not had much to cheer about from the 37th minute when Gundogan scored that remarkable goal, really, to put City 1-0 up, and now it is 3-0. Ghana to take this, so it'll be an in-swinger from the left-hand side, left arm raised. Here's the delivery, and Ederson stretches for it at the back post. Mina got to it, and Nana swings a leg. Haaland, with his facing his own goal, heads it away, and then it's cleared away on the edge of the box. Everton come again, but it's rather vain, all this, trying to find something in the match. That goal difference, as Leon Osman mentioned, is important. And now Doucouré, Patterson lifts one with the angle into the penalty area. Walker allowed it to bounce. There's a little bit of indecision in there, but he took it down and put it out of play for a throw to Everton on the left-hand side. That is taken back to Ghana. And now Doucouré infield, Onana, but Rodri was all over him. He nicked it away from Onana, gives it to Haaland. They're over the halfway line. Rodri with the pass, rolling forward towards Foden in the box. First time cross left foot. Haaland goes for it on his left foot, but wide across the 6-yard box. Didn't get this one on target, and Everton are able to clear.
Yeah, but the difference between the two teams on counter-attack just shows everything about them. Everton, and they break forward, are trying to find something, hoping someone makes a good pass. Manchester City know exactly where they're running. They're so precise with the passing, even though only Haaland was in the penalty area. Foden found him. 3 Everton defenders, 1 City striker. Such quality they possess throughout the team, Manchester City, whether it be in sustained possession, in trying to find moments, or on the counter-attack. They've got it all.
Half an hour to play here at Goodison Park under grey skies. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. And let's go back to Wembley for the latest on the Cup final from Nick Godwin.
Half-time, Manchester United women 0, Chelsea women 0, but Manchester United have had some brilliant chances in that first 45 minutes. Leah Galton with 2 opportunities, one ruled out for offside, the other brilliantly saved by Anne-Katrin Berger. But the best save of the half came from Mary Earps. There was a brilliant header by Lauren James which looped in the air for Chelsea, and Earps backpedaling pushed it onto the post. Nikita Paris might have had a penalty for United as well. A free kick was given on the edge of the box. It might have been inside. VAR is in use, but it did not intervene. Half-time, Manchester United 0, Chelsea 0.
Good header away by Foden at the back post. Everton come again. Patterson's ball in from the right, but that's cleared by Laporte. And Pep Guardiola has dropped down onto his knees just outside the 6-yard box. Just watching Everton having a better spell, but he's still on his knees, Leon. And now he's got his hands on the ground in front of him. Now he's back up onto his feet. He does do some funny things sometimes, doesn't he, on the edge of the coaching area. Here's Iwobi on the left-hand side. Going to go back to Brentford in a moment, but Everton trying to do something about this 3-0 deficit. Crossfield pass from Tarkowski. Akanji got his head to that. It will roll out of play for a throw-in next to the corner flag. But Patterson takes back to Doucouré. Now infield to Mina. And then Mina gets it back, puts his foot on it again. And now Patterson on the right. Thought about the ball into the middle. Lots of yellowy shirts there in the middle, the Manchester City shirts. So Everton actually go back towards the halfway line as the sun tries to come out here on Merseyside. Mina, and then turned right foot ball from Doucouré, who gets it back from Patterson, but the touch was terrible from Doucouré there, and it bounces back to Manchester City. So come in Jonathan Overend at Brentford.
Well, you feel it's how many do Brentford want today, leading West Ham 2-0, but my notepad is almost running out of room. So many Brentford chances have rained down in the second half. Wissa should have scored and Burmo's header was blocked. Damsgaard somehow over from close range. Brentford 2, West Ham 0 though, somehow.
And back to the Premiership playoff semi-final, Sarah Orchard.
Yeah, and we've just had a score for Sale Sharks. They're in the lead for the first time in this semi-final. It's Sale 7, Tigers 6. Tom Roebuck, who went over in the corner, but it's still a cagey contest. Anyone's match. 20 minutes of the first half left to go. Sale 7, Leicester 6.
And we've got commentary, by the way, on that online. You'll find it online, the Rugby Union pages of the BBC website, with James Burridge and Luther Burrell. Likewise, County Championship cricket continues. Every match you will find on the live page on the cricket section of the BBC Sport website on this final day of the current round of championship matches. As we heard from Kevin Howells at half-time, Durham won by 1 wicket against Yorkshire in what sounded like a bit of a thriller. Here's Akanji bringing the ball down the left-hand side. Foden into the full-back position. His cross bounces back onto Foden and behind, and it is a goal kick to Everton, with Manchester City winning 3-0. Leon Osman.
Yeah, Everton, once they changed the system, made those substitutions, just found a bit of a spring to their step, but still not troubling Ederson in the goal, not asking any questions of Manchester City really. Defensively, City seem to have rode that slight bit of pressure from Everton, now got up the other end of the pitch. Pep Guardiola seems a lot more pleased than he was 3 or 4 minutes ago, although he's barking orders at Diaz and Laporte if he wants to make sure they keep their concentration levels.
Ball out of play for a throw into Manchester City. So with this scoreline, we've got the commentary on the Arsenal match, Arsenal-Brighton from 4:30, but with this scoreline here, that would take Manchester City 4 points clear at the top, and 2 wins from their last 3 matches. Whatever Arsenal do, that would be enough for Manchester City. They would have 85 points after this. Arsenal can only get to 90, so 2 wins would take them to 91, and also they've got the advantage in goal difference as well. Another +3 on their goal difference today to take it to +61 compared to Arsenal's +44. All the cards are in Manchester City's favour, Leon.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal had an incredible lead at one point. There's never any panic from Manchester City. They've been here, they've seen it, they've had experience this run-in before. They know in these situations they usually come good.
However, here's McNeil on the edge of the box, shooting into the back of Diaz, and the ball bounces out of play. Bounces now, took almost like a turn square on the final day of the current round of county championship matches, and bounced out for a corner rather than a throw-in. So Garner comes across to take that. Just in front of the Everton fans, there is one in a black jumper down there who hasn't given up hope yet, clapping his hands 3-4 times. Garner takes this corner into the back post. Ederson gets his punch all wrong. I think he's claiming that he was impeded. I'm not sure about that. He punched it one way and it came off the back of his fist and went over the top of the bar for another corner.
He punched it like I used to head it. Look one way, it goes the other. Could have been a moment to panic there for Ederson, but he was so close to the byline that it was clearly going out of play.
Corner then from the other side into the edge of the 6-yard box, and Onana with a header, and that's a very good save from Ederson. Above his head, but from 6 yards that had some pace on it, and Ederson was able to throw up a hand and push it over the top.
Well, it was a free header from 6 yards out, and actually I don't know if it just hit the top of the crossbar. The Manchester City players are complaining to the referee. They thought that was a goal kick. Seeing it again.
Oh no, it's Tarkowski.
You're right, Tarkowski. Crossbar and over. Yeah.
I mean, Ederson's hand was up there next to the bar. Here's the latest corner, headed down into the ground and then up and over the top. And I think Mina might have got the touch to that one. Straight down into the ground and bounced up and over the top of the crossbar.
You have to score one of those. Those are 2 really big opportunities for Everton from set pieces. If you're going to make a game of this, you've got to score one of them. If not, as I keep mentioning, how important every goal is at the moment. This team's been 2 goal shy over the course of the season, especially here at Goodison. Need to score them chances.
So 3-0 it remains after that little flurry from Everton. Still no sign of a change for Manchester City. That does surprise me. Another goal at Brentford, Jonathan Overend.
It's just been chalked off, actually. West Ham had the ball in the net, and for a long time they thought they were back in this game at 2-1, but a very unlucky VAR rule has gone against them, because a cross hit the post, rebounded back, hit the young substitute Divin Mbamu on the shoulder, it looked like, just below the shoulder, but there was nothing he could do about it, because it was the rebound that glanced off his shoulder, fell at the foot of Danny Ings, who scored it, but Michael Oliver's had to disallow it for handball. So it remains Brentford 2, West Ham 0.
Still 2-0 there, still 3-0 here to Manchester City, still Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0 at Wembley. Finished Coventry City 0, Middlesbrough 0, if you haven't heard that, in the Championship playoff semi-final earlier. Oxford City have been promoted to the National League with a handsome win, 4-0 against St Albans City in the National League South playoff final, and they'll be just getting underway in the North playoff final between Brackley Town and Kidderminster. We'll keep you up to date with that as well. But very much the time of the year, sun shining, warm, and Manchester City knowing that the titles are going to be handed out before too much longer. And indeed, Rodri passes the ball to Akanji, who misses it completely, looking the other way, but will allow them the occasional slip.
Even their misplaced passes find a Manchester City shirt. As you said, a bit of confusion, but Phil Foden sprinting back to sort it out.
Foden now into the full-back position, but it bounces behind off him for what is given as a goal kick. So, as I say, with this scoreline, 2 wins away, their final 3 matches: Chelsea at home, Brighton away, Brentford away.
I think that's why, we were all questioning what kind of team Pep Guardiola would pick today in between the Real Madrid ties and how strong he would go, how many changes he would or could make. But I think we're seeing he's gone strong, he's looked at what he's got remaining. Chelsea at home, expect the team to win that, but Brighton and Brentford, 2 away games on the run, aren't givens, and he's given himself a bit of wiggle room with those after this result today, it seems.
Everton come again through the middle, but that is snuffed out by Manchester City, and Laporte is able to pass the ball back to Ederson, who will want a clean sheet today. They have conceded the occasional goal, Manchester City, but force of goals, weight of goals at the other end is why they're on the course here for an 11th Premier League win in a row. That is some form. 21 matches unbeaten in all competitions. And then Onana plays it back into his own half. So we'll see how Arsenal respond. And indeed, we've got the team news from Alistair Bruce-Ball, who is there.
I am indeed, John. One change for Arsenal from their 2-0 win at Newcastle. They've won their last couple of games. Kieran Tierney in for the injured Zinchenko at left back. Brighton hammered last time out by Everton by 5-1. Roberto De Zerbi makes 4 changes. Levi Colwill into the back 4. Adam Webster's out injured. Billy Gilmore returns to the midfield. Julio Enciso and Evan Ferguson both start. So Buonanotte, Undav and Welbeck drop out.
Thank you, Ali. 4:30 start for that. You'll be able to hear that with us. Ali and Glenn Murray with the commentary, and 5 Live the place to hear both of their matches next weekend as well. Arsenal are at Nottingham Forest on Saturday tea time. Manchester City at home to Chelsea on the in the 4 o'clock kickoff on the Sunday afternoon. So just had a little coming together on the far side with Manchester City winning a free kick. And it was Maupay and Akanji, and the 2 of them challenging for the ball, Leon, and Akanji just got a little shove into the shoulder of Maupay, who went falling off the field.
Yeah, well, the Evertonians on the far side of the field thought it was a foul against Maupay. I didn't myself, and neither did the officials. It was more shoulder to shoulder as Maupay and fell on the floor and fell off the pitch. He just brushed the ball with his hand. The official on the far side of the pitch gave handball. Neil Maupay was not happy with the decision at all, and that's... We saw the demonstration.
We did. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Into the last 20 minutes here. It's got that feel about it now, hasn't it? Even something like that has only... if it was still 0-0, can you imagine the effect that would have had on Goodison Park? But apart from those over there in the Bullens Road stand who had a front row view of it.
Yeah, I think maybe if it was still 2-0, I think maybe we'd have got a bit more reaction, but you just feel against this Manchester City team, they just don't really concede goals, this Manchester City team. Only conceded 14 away from home all season. Everton have only scored 15 at home. Just shows the difference between what the 2 are able to use firepower and how comfortable Manchester City have actually been here defensively today.
As Kyle Walker has been forced back by Iwobi, still halfway inside his own half, but typically Manchester City, Walker, they play their way out of it. Walker found Mahrez, then Rodri, now Akanji's bursting forward, Foden back to Akanji on the left, and Akanji's cross has just got too much on it, and it flies over the top of Haaland and Mahrez, and is out of play for a throw-in to Everton. Brilliant play. That's them all over, and I think it's going to be fascinating, isn't it, Wednesday night, to see who comes out on top between those 2 teams.
Yeah, can't wait to see that one. Manchester City, the home advantage, the the better team. Certainly in the tie the Etihad against Real Madrid last season. Should have won by more goals than they did, and now it's even going back there.
Yep, don't miss that with us on 5 Live on Wednesday night. Damari Gray is going to come on very shortly, having scored in the match when they drew at the Etihad Stadium. In fact, that was the last match that Manchester City failed to win in all competitions on their home ground. Here's Doucouré back to the edge of the box. Tarkowski forward towards McNeil, now playing on the left-hand side, and then Iwobi is there with him on the left flank. McNeil takes it on down into the full-back position, and McNeil's able to turn, but he's got Walker for company, and then Mahrez is there as well, and Manchester City are able to win the ball back and are bringing it forward again. Gundogan, right-footed ball over the top. What a ball that is as well, into the path of Mahrez. Haaland in the middle, Mahrez with the pass, and a stretch, and almost away by Patterson, and then Pickford comes out rather clumsily against Haaland, who went sprawling down inside the box. You could tell he wanted a penalty for that. Referee Taylor says no. Thought he had a case, I must say. Pickford came out, made contact with him. Now Iwobi goes down. That's not given us a free kick. Manchester City bring it forward. Also, there is
I think it's Rodri.
Rodri has gone down, having taken a bang in the coming together with Iwobi, and now the ball's being put out of play because Rodri is down, and VAR clearly will have a look at this incident.
Yeah, I think Jordan Pickford just came out to try and
that could be a penalty.
Get to Haaland, and Haaland sees him coming, and Haaland just puts the brakes on for me. I've seen decisions given him. I'm not convinced that one is, because Haaland's looking at the goalkeeper, Pickford's going for the ball, and Haaland just stops and tries to actually get in the way of Jordan Pickford. So,
well, VAR will certainly be looking at that, but I think.
Yeah, but going to that move though, I mean, it's scintillating again from Manchester City. 2 or 3 occasions on the run, they've been under real pressure in the right back area from Kyle Walker. 2 or 3 passes, good flicks, tempo in the play, and suddenly in behind Everton's defence, causing all sorts of problems. Brilliant play. Maybe could have had a penalty, not in my opinion, on that occasion.
VAR, Craig Pawson agrees with you. No penalty, and play resumes. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Back to Sale Leicester. Sarah Orchard.
Yeah. Big moment here in the semi-final at the AJ Bell. It's still Sale 7, Leicester 6, but their captain Ben Curry had to be stretchered off the pitch for Sale. He picked up a nasty leg injury. He looked in a lot of pain as he came off, and straight away all the cameras up to the England head coach Steve Borthwick, who is here watching. He's going to be picking his England training squad, of course, for the World Cup coming up fast in September. That will be a concern. It's Sale 7, Leicester 6, 10 minutes to play the first half.
Everton playing it forward towards Doucouré. Gray has come on to replace Garner, and here is Damari Gray now, the Everton number 11, up towards the edge of the penalty area, plays the ball to the right hand side. Patterson, and then Onana, the tall figure of Onana, moving it up towards the D, square from him. McNeil with a touch, Iwobi, then back to McNeil, puts the top of his boot on the ball, and then curled in by Iwobi into the penalty area. It bounces down, and Akanji is able to turn and clear it out for a throw on the far side. So it's back to Wembley and Nick Godwin.
A couple of minutes into the second half here at Wembley. It's still Manchester United women 0, Chelsea women 0. Manchester United definitely had the better chances in that first half. Some good work by Ann-Katrin Berger to keep United out, but there was that header by Lauren James that Mary Earps did so well to push onto the post. Still 0-0, couple of minutes into the second 45 minutes, live on 5 Sports Extra and on BBC One.
Thank you, Nick. So Manchester City now with 13 minutes to play. Pep Guardiola, who didn't make a change at all on Wednesday night, is now going to take off Ilkay Gundogan. Bernardo Silva's waiting to come on. So the 2-goal Gundogan is going to leave the field. And is Haaland coming off as well? Yes, he is. And so Grealish coming on for Haaland. So that's it. The 1 goal today for Erling Haaland, scored in both matches this season against Everton, and that's the end of his afternoon.
Yeah, big hugs for them both from their manager Guardiola. He came here, played a strong team, wanting them to get the job done early so he could make changes. He has done, but he could have maybe made changes and brought on the likes of Cole Palmer or Rico Lewis or Sergio Gomez, Calvin Phillips, but he hasn't. He's gone back to his tried and tested starting players. Brought on Grealish, brought on Bernardo Silva.
And the excellent Alvarez now moving up front into the Haaland role. He's been a success, hasn't he, Alvarez, as that backup man, but able to play in other positions as well, as part of that line of four that operates behind Haaland, which he's done for the most part today.
He's had excellent patience. I mean, he's come to a club when you move.
Could have gone anywhere.
Yeah, he could have gone anywhere, and he's come to a club where he wants to win, but he'll expected to play, and then they went and signed Haaland, and suddenly you have to have patience, or you have a bad attitude that you're not playing and you're not getting enough game time. He's gone on, he's played well, he's been a good backup, he's gone and won the World Cup, and then you can demand starting time, but he's always reliable and dependable for this Manchester City team, and he's got an awful lot of quality to match what they already have.
So Grealish has come on and gone over to the left-hand side, so Foden has moved from there into a more central position. Bernardo Silva, central. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. BBC Radio 5 Live. Premier League commentary, another one to come with Arsenal, who simply just have to win their match against Brighton now. Just win in from here. That's all Arsenal can do. But after this, Manchester City will know that the 2 wins from their remaining 3 Premier League games will bring them possibly the first leg of the treble, and indeed 3 league titles in a row, which is a rare feat. Diaz long and forward, but McNeil is under that to head it back to Jordan Pickford, who will just underarm it out to Connor Cody. So 3-0 here, 10 minutes to play. Onana forward, but Bernardo Silva comes across and closes him down. What about the team for Manchester City for Wednesday night? Do you think he'll go the same as in the Bernabeu on Wednesday?
Yeah, I do. I think he's decided that's his strongest team. I think certainly to play against Real Madrid, I think he'll start in that manner. I think the fact he made a couple of changes, you'd expect all of those that he's left out today to be starting on Wednesday night at the Etihad.
I think it also gives you an indication, the fact that neither De Bruyne nor Stones has been used in this game. I think that gives you an indication of how he values those players at the moment. And Stones, who was struggling to get a start in the first half of the season, has now become absolutely pivotal in Manchester City's current vein of form.
Yeah, he has, even more so than Rodri. I think Rodri's key. I think Kevin De Bruyne is the magic. Haaland is your goal scorer. Rodri has been key for a number of seasons in that role where he keeps everything ticking and destroys the opposition. But John Stones is unique for Pep this season. He's the best at stepping from the back 4 into midfield, making that extra body in midfield, playing on the half-term. Not many centre-halves can play on the half-term the way John Stones has. He tried Rico Lewis stepping in from right back, he tried Cancelo stepping in from left back, didn't have the same effect or the same balance, and he's got it in Stones at the moment.
3-0 Manchester City lead, cruising to victory here at Goodison Park. What about Brentford against West Ham? Jonathan O'Brien?
Yes, a little tighter in this second half. Brentford 2, West Ham 0, but only because really that West Ham had that disallowed goal. Brentford, you feel, still in control of the whole affair. And what have we got left? 7.5 minutes here. Rice, Bowen, Benrahma all on for West Ham, but it's Brentford leading 2-0.
Confirmation, by the way, from the county championship. Surrey did win against Middlesex. Surrey beaten Middlesex by 9 wickets. Cody clearing the ball away from penalty area, comes back to Mina on the edge of the box, turns it to the right hand side. Patterson is there, but all of the intensity really has gone out of the game. Everton had that little spell, didn't they, after they made the initial changes, after that double change during the course of the second half. Had the couple of headers that threatened the Manchester City goal. But I think all thoughts now, Manchester City turning their thoughts towards Wednesday, and Everton turning their thoughts to next Saturday at Molineux.
Yeah, 2 big games coming up next for both of these teams. We all know how big the one for Manchester City against Real Madrid is in the week, but Everton having not picked anything up here today, having sacrificed 3 goals and making it tight with goal difference, really need to go and get a result at Wolves now next week. I think whether it be a point or 3, they'll probably need it.
Match has almost dropped to walking pace now. Manchester City with the ball halfway inside their own half. Walker, then all the way back to Diaz. What about 2-goal Gundogan then? Do you keep him at all costs for next season?
Oh, I would. I mean, you said he's playing well to earn his position. I think he's playing well to show Manchester City what they potentially need to buy, pay for, secure. He's been outstanding for a number of seasons now.
Lovely play from Foden now in the midfield, turns, gives it to Rodri, and then Rodri overhits his pass for Grealish down the left-hand side that bounces away out of play underneath the big screen in the corner.
Well, he's hanging his head, Rodri, as he's walking back. He's so disappointed with himself. That was a huge opportunity for number 4, Manchester City, and of all things it was a sloppy pass. It really was. He just lacked concentration. You don't say that about him very often.
And Phil Foden, as Rodri walks back past him, gives him a pat on the back and ruffles his hair, says, "Unlucky big man," or words to that effect.
It wouldn't surprise me if Pep brought him off. Now that just looked tired. It looked a little bit leggy. It looked like just lacked energy in that moment, and that's certainly not what he'll want for the next few games. He'll want to get him off as soon as possible. Rafa Cotton Wool.
Yep, 5 minutes to go. What's big man in Spanish, Leon? Do you know that one?
Grande
Hombre.
There
we are, we got that. I knew you'd know. As the ball comes across to Diaz on the edge of his penalty area. Going to be another change. Calvin Phillips is going to come on in this match. Long and forward, Mahrez twisting against McNeil, but McNeil comes out with the ball, and then McNeil evades the challenge of Bernardo Silva, who went to ground, and then Onana helpfully managed to get in the way of the Manchester City man. Gray then back towards the halfway line. McNeil's really caught the eye for Everton in this match. Again, Gray playing it infield, and Nana turns to his left and uses his left foot to play it back towards Tarkowski near the centre circle. Iwobi on the left flank, and Everton will go back to Tarkowski again. Another touch from Iwobi. Little passes between Iwobi and Tarkowski, and then Cody hits a long right-footed pass down the right-hand side to Patterson, who chests it down and takes on Akanji, who's able to block it behind for a corner to the home side.
Well, that was good from Everton. You have to make the passes that hurt the opposition. Big switch from Conor Cody was one of them.
Corner taken short. Gray tries to cross. That's blocked by Grealish. Comes back to Patterson. Patterson, left-footed ball to the back post. Tarkowski stretching, got his head to it. Lots of players in there. Rodri is able to nod it away down into the full-back position. Suspect Guardiola will be looking to get Rodri off the field. Iwobi back to Tarkowski. Ball on the edge of the penalty area. McNeil trying to find a way through down to the left-hand side. Low ball across the box. That's cleared away by Diaz. It's one back though inside the penalty area. Doucouré tried to win a throw-in off Mahrez. That didn't work, and Manchester City were able to clear towards the halfway line. Everton come forward again, but Manchester City have just switched onto us on 5 Live, leading by 3-0. It was quite tight for most of the first half, but then Gundogan scored an excellent goal, improvised really, as the ball is now taken forward by Damari Gray on one of his weavy runs. Uses McNeil now on the left-hand side. McNeil's cross, Ederson came for it, but it was over the top of Maupay in the middle, and Manchester City are able to bring it away. And it's back to Wembley and Nick Godwin.
A couple of changes for Chelsea. Still Manchester United women 0, Chelsea women 0, and Emma Hayes, the Chelsea manager, seen enough. She's decided to throw Sophie Ingle and Pernilla Harder on. Harder's missed a lot of this season with injury, but has been sent on to get Chelsea creating chances, because they've not done much so far. Still 0-0 though. We've had 12 minutes of the second half.
And Calvin Phillips is coming on for Rodri. Leon Osman applauding to the Manchester City fans in the corner. 3 minutes to go. I did wonder whether he would be involved in this match at all, but he's played almost all of it.
Yeah, that's the incredible thing. Rodri's getting a 3-minute rest. I expected when Manchester City went 3-0 up, certainly when we got to the hour mark, that he'd bring on Calvin Phillips and give Rodri a bit more of a rest. He hasn't done. It's 87 minutes before he's been withdrawn. Gets another big hug from the manager. He's so important to this Manchester City team. Calvin Phillips gets a rare run out.
Yep, still yet to start in the Premier League for Manchester City, Calvin Phillips. And you do wonder if he doesn't start in a match like this, when when Pep Guardiola is looking to rest players, I think what it does say is that, and I think what would be interesting to see is how he's able to improve Calvin Phillips next season and where he goes from here in what's been an injury disrupted season, but clearly struggled for form as well.
Yeah, that's a question. I mean, are they looking to give him a good pre-season and get him into the proper squad, get him building up with the team together for next season, or are they looking to offload? Are they happy to listen to offers for the midfielder? Finding that out will be really interesting. Pep's views on it.
Sergio Gomez is going to come on as well for the final minutes of this match. Free kick. Patterson bowled over Grealish on the far side. Didn't like that decision, but a free kick to Manchester City. I think it was fair enough, I have to say. And Manchester City with the ball deep inside their own half. So Sergio Gomez, that'll be the 4th change. So he's taken off Rodri, Gundogan and Haaland so far. And now Akanji bringing it forward. Here is Grealish. Brown hair swept back, just comes to a stop and then plays it infield towards Calvin Phillips. We're in the 90th minute now. Manchester City, just a matter of however much is added on from going 4 points clear at the top of the table before the Arsenal-Brighton commentary, which will be coming up at 4:30. It's back with Diaz at the back for Manchester City. So Haaland with the goal that he scored today. That is 36 in the Premier League, 52 in the league. I mentioned the fact that he's equalled Steve Bull's total of 52 in all competitions from 1987-88. If you go back further, as I mentioned at half-time, it's actually Terry Bly of Peterborough who scored 54 goals in the 1960-61 season. Scored 7 hat-tricks that season, Terry Bly. So that is the next mark that's to be knocked off, as Manchester City have the ball in front of their own penalty area. And here is Laporte just wandering forward with it. 4 minutes of added time. Puts his foot on the ball, just turns it infield towards Diaz again. Could have been really problematic this for Manchester City in between the Real Madrid games. Calvin Phillips hits one of his long passes, but that is headed away by a leaping McNeil, and then Mahrez is fouled. It will be, and it's a free kick to Everton halfway inside their own half. So here is the change, his latest change for Manchester City, and it is Diaz who comes off. So Ruben Diaz is off, and Sergio Gomez is able to come onto the field to replace him.
Yeah, another substitution just to save legs and make sure there's no injury before a big game against Real Madrid, because this game's been over since just after half-time. That Ilkay Gundogan free kick secured the points for Manchester City. Both teams have certainly not been going through the motions, but seemed like they'd settled for the 3-0 victory. Everton didn't want to concede anymore. City didn't want to push too hard. It's had the feel of a game where both sides are just waiting for the referee to blow the whistle.
Pep Guardiola retrieves the ball from the side of the pitch, flicks it forward. Throw-in is taken by Walker in field. Everton have been able to win possession back. We're in added time here, 4 minutes of added time being played. Back to the semi-final, the Sale-Leicester match. Sarah Orchard.
Half-time, Sale 7, Leicester 6. 1 Tom Roebuck try for Sale, 2 Jimmy Gopperth penalties for Leicester, but Leicester, they're down to 14 after Dan Cole was yellow carded. They'll restart the second half with 14. Sale 7, Leicester 6.
And you can hear commentary on that online, the Rugby Union pages of the BBC Sport website. Manchester City, it was felt, Leon, that this was a potentially tricky one for them on the way to successfully defending their title, but they've come through it very well, actually.
Yeah, as all top teams do. I think that the way Everton can be at Goodison Park against the big teams, the way Everton performed in the last game against Brighton, all made you feel they'd put up more of a fight here today than they managed against Manchester City. They defended okay for 35 minutes. They got about Manchester City, but ultimately City had the quality. City are the team that have made chances and created opportunities and made Jordan Pickford make saves. Everton, as hard as they've tried, haven't forced Ederson to make a save as yet, so I'm surprised it's turned into a comfortable victory for Manchester City.
And Ilkay Gundogan absolutely crucial in it, the captain, with the opening goal, that flick with his back to goal, flick over his shoulder, quite fitting in Eurovision City that he scored one off the shoulder. And here is Grealish now approaching the penalty area on his right foot, moving from left to right, but then Iwobi gets a foot in and blocks it away. Then Gundogan set up the second goal, the header from Haaland, and then the free kick in the second half, and at 3-0 there was no coming back from that for Everton, who will have 2 matches to save themselves. They will remain 1 point above the relegation zone, but now, it's maybe significant, the fact that there is only 1 goal in goal difference between Everton and Leeds. So Everton will be 1 point ahead of Leeds, and their goal difference will be 1 better. City with the ball. In fact, it's stationary at the feet of Akanji.
Oh, they're stationary. The referee's looking at his watch. The players are looking at the referee. Everybody's just waiting now. The referee to blow his whistle.
Foden carrying it forward. There is quite a number of empty blue seats appearing around Goodison Park now. And there it is. The final whistle goes. Sean Dyche comes across. There's a handshake between the 2 managers, Pep Guardiola and Sean Dyche, who then applauds all around Goodison Park. The final whistle now, but really the match was over long ago.
Yeah, definitely the match was over as a contest in the 51st minute when İlkay Gundogan put that one in the top corner. Wonderful free kick. He was the star man today, İlkay Gundogan. A goal, 2 goals and an assist in a tight game. Just shows exactly what Pep Guardiola's got at his disposal. Top class performance from Manchester City in what was thought to be a tricky game. They've stepped up, they've delivered, and now they'll move on to Real Madrid in the week for Everton. It's back to the drawing board. They tried to go toe to toe with probably the best team in the Premier League, come up well short. Well, there are 2 much winnable games on the horizon, and they need at least 1 victory, maybe even more, if they're to stay in the Premier League.
For Manchester City, though, it's their supporters you can hear celebrating, clapping with their hands above their heads as the City players go over there after what is an 11th Premier League win in a row. That is why they are now 4 points clear at the top, and they know now 2 wins from their last 3 matches will be enough to successfully defend the title. Pep Guardiola is going around all of the players out there, but for Everton now, what this means is this sets a new club record, an unwanted club record for 10 home league defeats in a season. And what's interesting here is, I don't know if this has been happening for every match, Leon, but there is a security cordon that's been put up, so stewards, probably 40 or 50 stewards, have formed a square around the point at the top of the tunnel. And that this is clearly to avoid any ill feeling that might follow from the stands. But I think that is very much a demonstration of how things are here at Goodison Park, with the team and the club still very much in danger of relegation.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I've only seen it on a couple of occasions against Crystal Palace last season when Everton secured that crucial victory. Fans flooded onto the field, and to protect the area around the dugout and the tunnel, the stewards approached the position like they are doing now. It's as if they expected people to come on the pitch here today. Yeah. Evertonians haven't. They're cheering the fans, they're cheering the team, showing the support. They knew this was a difficult game. They hoped to get something. Wasn't to be. There's bigger games around the corner.
Yeah, I think this reaction, it's an interesting crowd reaction from those who are still inside Goodison Park, the Everton supporters. I think they saw something in that Brighton match, which was only last Monday, and okay, they've lost 3-0 to Manchester City here today, but the players have gone around the pitch. Stewards are all the way around the perimeter of the pitch, but also there is this square of security, stewards in yellow jackets near the top of the tunnel as well. But that is it. Manchester City win again and take another step closer to successfully defending their Premier League title. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. It's finished.
Yeah, we had a couple of examples yesterday of fans trying to get to managers as well, not least Eddie Howe. I suspect they're trying to avoid that as well. There's been a goal in the cup final. Nick Godwin.
And Sam Kerr has put Chelsea women in front halfway through this second half. Pernilla Harder was thrown on to try and allow Chelsea to create more chances. She's done exactly that. Got away down the right-hand side. An inch-perfect cross. Kerr steaming in at the far post. just slammed it past the Manchester United goalkeeper. She's scored 4 goals across the last 2 FA Cup finals. She's on the score sheet again. Manchester United women 0, Chelsea 1. Don't forget, you can listen to the whole thing on 5 Sports Extra and watch it on BBC One.
We finished at Brentford as well. Very much end of season fare, Jonathan Overend.
Yes, and the familiar sight of Thomas Frank leading his Brentford side around the pitch here, as they do after every home match, but today justifiably revelling in the celebrations of beating West Ham 2-0, because Brentford were the dominant team today by some considerable distance. First half goals from Mbumo and from Wissa. West Ham thought they had a lifeline when Ings scored midway through the second half, but it was ruled out rather unluckily for handball. There was a handball, but it bounced off the post and onto the substitute Mbama's arm before falling into the path of Ings. Michael Oliver disallowed it, but as I say, Brentford were much the better team. Could well have scored many more than 2 because they had a whole series of chances in the second half. They go above Fulham into 9th in the Premier League and will have their sights, I would imagine, maybe not on Brentford with all those Brighton with all those games in hand, Steve, but maybe on Villa. Who knows? But even if it's 9th, that's a sizable achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brentford 2, West Ham 0.
Absolutely, Jonathan, thank you very much. Let's go back to Goodison. Leon Osman and John Murray still there after Manchester City's victory by 3-0, which takes them 4 points clear of Arsenal at the top. So 2 wins from their remaining 3 is the absolute most they would need. It is 98 Premier League games since Manchester City last failed to win for 2 consecutive matches. And that, John Murray, is just one of the many reasons why there are a lot of people who think that there's no way back.
Yeah, and those matches are Chelsea at home, Brighton away and Brentford away. And as you suggest there, Arsenal have got to keep winning in as well to the end of the season in order for that to be the case. I think in their current form and the way that they're playing, the strengths that they've got, I'm not sure you'd find very many people at all who'd be willing to bet against them defending the title.
No, especially when you've got even Ilkay Gundogan looking like Erling Haaland with those 2 finishes today. I mean, the first one, the free kick was brilliant, but that first one, the deft touch off the knee and then the flick, absolutely extraordinary goal.
It was outstanding. It really was. It's about knowing where players are around you. And he's running to the penalty area. He's felt the ball was a little bit behind him, and he took his first touch over, knowing he was going to spin over his right shoulder himself. And Patterson went for it, thinking he was going to control it on the inside. He didn't. It's just real football intelligence, and then taking it really early, flicking it over his shoulder, giving Jordan Pickford no chance. But we shouldn't be surprised. We're saying, Gundogan with 2 goals, being like Erling Haaland. He scored 2 in the last game, should have had a hat-trick. But you go back last season, he scored crucial goals to win the title. You go back season before, he started absolutely on fire and went through a real spell of 10 goals in 10 games or something like that. So he does have the potential to break from midfield, find himself in brilliant areas in the penalty area and score brilliant goals for City.
Big win for Manchester City, far from a disaster for Everton. They're still 1 point above Leeds United in the relegation zone. John, we've had quite a few answers to your quiz question. 85058 at 5Live Sport. We were asking what the next record is that Erling Haaland could catch before he potentially even gets to Dixie Dean. Ian in Aberdeen, Peter in Stoke, Neil from Bristol and others. Is it Terry Bly?
It is. Terry Bly scored 54 goals in all competitions in 1960-61. So he's equalled Steve Bull's 52 today, and then 54 is the next target as you go back.
What's the Dixie Dean number again?
63 in all competitions. So he'll not beat him in terms. What Dixie Dean will always have is the fact that he scored 60 of his 63 goals were league goals, incredibly.
Isn't it great, though, that, this is happening this season and it's just given everybody an opportunity to remember some of these great names from the past as well?
It is, and I mean, there have been a couple of excellent articles written by the newspaper writers, Dominic King, Jim White, and it means that people have been reminded of these figures of the past, and he's not just a statue who stands outside Goodison Park. People learn about him. It's a little bit like Pongo Waring, who we were talking of a couple of weeks ago. I don't know whether you looked into him afterwards, as I did, and he sounded like a bit of a character. He used to go around Villa Park after the match and finish off all of the lemonade that was left in glasses around the stadium. So.
And I thought it was just Ian Dennis that did that. Wow, that's fascinating.
Or assorted drinks when it comes to...
You said that, not me. Thank you very much. Guys, John Murray, Leon Osman inside Goodison Park. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. All I...